Okay, and we are live. And today we're going to be talking about some remember dearly because we're of a certain age group that this stuff is in our blood. So, but before we get to that, we have to give you a little bit of context. When a lot of younger gamers talk about a console war, the BS that's been going on in gen, even the sixth gen, those weren't console wars. They weren't. Um, in the fifth and sixth gen, there was always a clear-cut winner of that console gen. Um, Basically, with the PS with the seventh gen, we actually there was still even a clear-cut winner of that gen. But there were gens before that, actually, and the first generation of video games, the first console, the Magnavox Odyssey, Atari, and ColecoVision. Okay, and that was between 72 and 77. Okay, that was the very first console war. And Magnavox came out with Pong. Atari stole Pong, and Magnavox sued them. And basically, Atari it's a licensing fee. The Pong consoles, because back in that day, while Magnavox had in the loosest term, cartridges, so you could have multiple games. All the games were built into the console, and the cartridges just switched the circuits around so that you could play a different so that you could play a different game that was built in the console. Atari, those bastards, stole Pong and just had multiple iterations, which Atari first video game console crash of the late 70s, okay? Because people were tired. Like, let me tell you how tired of people are of Pong. Like, I have multiple old school consoles. Like, I have a Vectrex, I have an Atari 7800, a Sharp 3800, aka the MSX. I don't have Pong on any of my home consoles. Like, the closest I have to Pong off Breakout. That's the only Pong-like game that I have. But I digress. So we had that console where with those three consoles going at each other, didn't do all that well. Atari did pretty well, and ColecoVision damn near went bankrupt. So, so then you had the crash in '79. But in 1980 it began. Atari came into the forefront, and Atari had some stuff going on. Atari basically
Okay.
Atari had some stuff going on in the 1980s to 1983, but basically the shit hit the fan at that point because once again, distinct console manufacturers sniping against each other. Atari and Intellivision had the more powerful, like, they're like the sport. They had commercials back in the day where they were like, "This actually looks like basketball." Or yeah, I think his name was like the actual game, because Ataris just looked like shit. So it was a very interesting time for gaming. You had Intellivision, Atari, and then you had I want to say Magnavox Odyssey 2. Vectrix was gone. ColecoVision was gone. Fairchild Channel F's still rolling around, but I mean those were mostly sniping against each other. And Atari had enough money and backing to make some major flops like Pac-Man, and of course we all know about E.T.
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm still in my mind thinking, how the bloody hell can you can you flop Pac-Man, a Pac-Man game?
It makes sense. The game had, I want to say, like a 8-week development cycle, and it should have taken 6 months to program that game.
Yeah.
They did it. They rushed the time in order to get it to, because they wanted to get it out at Christmas, and it sold well. But they made so many units. They made so many cartridges, and they didn't sell all those cartridges. So it sold well, but they didn't sell enough.
Seems like the same problem with E.T. The game Pac-Man and E.T. was those games were developed by only one guy, and as Mr. Redcock said, the deadline was too harsh for the developer. So
That was mind-boggling.
yeah.
For the programming back then, even though it seems like it would be simpler, actually programming is easier now than it was back then. Languages that have been created specifically to create video games. Back then, you were just dealing with with strings of code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you have to really be a really geeky guy. You had to know about physics, mathematics, and of course computer science. So it wasn't as easy to develop for the Atari and those arcade consoles as for today for the modern consoles and PC. It was
Yep.
it was really hard to do.
So when you look at those old school developers like Will Wright and Sid Meier and like the guy who made E.T. for Atari, like when you look at those old school developers who were part of Activision when they actually made good games, who made those games, these people are fucking pioneers. I mean, they were really pioneers. They really were. These people were programmers. I mean, they were, in the purest sense of the word, they were creating a game from nothing, and it's amazing.
Really, there wasn't any middleware to work with. You had to actually build anything from the ground up, from zero, from
Yep.
scratch. Yeah,
Yep.
even
Well, I won't say there wasn't middleware. It was just the middleware that they were using was. It was like, because I mean, think about it. When Pong came out, all the games that came out after Pong were just derivatives of Pong because they had technically at the time the Pong engine. So they were like, oh, we got Pong down, but we got to change. We'll change some shit around. It's not quite Pong.
I'm talking about games that I mean, like really original games. Like say you want to make Pac-Man or what?
We're from scratch, from the ground up, a completely different thing with each and every one of them.
Yeah. Even on the NES days, game development was really hard. So even for music, you have to write your own engine for the music.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. So that's the reason why you you needed a team. At the time, you needed a team to develop a game. So, so
Yep.
yeah, I
Considering
feel
the fact,
what?
go on.
I think until last gen, it was actually more mainstream to develop. Like it was more achievable to develop a game. Uh, I mean, up to the PlayStation 2 era, it up until the PlayStation 2 era. I think it was like a dark, like a dark art to develop a video game. Like it was really there was no documentation. I mean, it was really hard to develop a game. So yeah, a lot
Because
of things
consider the
have
fact that
changed. Yeah,
considering the fact that you're actually going to hear these type of stories from the horse's mouth back last year E3 that um, uh, uh, I think it was the Kida-san actually said when they were making the Super Mario Bros. Game, it wasn't like so easy like they're doing it now with Mario Maker.
yeah,
It wasn't. It wasn't. Which tell were to make these games back then. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? But which leads to what happened during the second console war. Atari overextended themselves and glut of low quality games, both from Atari and from third parties, was not there, and there was a crash. 1983, the video game market crashed, and
Common, commonly known as the Atari debacle.
you know, Atari's folly hit everyone else's. Like you couldn't, even if you were the Intellivision, you couldn't sell an Intellivision console, even if their games were better than Atari's, because Atari had black, because there was no quality, and people had lost faith in the home console, and people started actually caring about, really started coming into their own in 1984, 85. But the technology for home PCs wasn't quite there yet for gaming. So as a gaming device, home PCs, generally speaking, weren't really, because even back then, if you wanted a PC that were too damned expensive for the average consumer, you're talking thousands of dollars. And was more than $1,000 is worth now. So 19, you know, now you have to remember something. All this shit happened in America and Europe. In Japan, the home console market was still going strong because people were still, and we're joined by Dr. Feelgood. How's it going, Dr. Feelgood?
It's all good. It's all good.
Talking
Ladies
about
and
how
gentlemen,
in Japan the home console market didn't really crash.
you know,
Uh,
I'm still listening about the Europe part is actually debatable because I'm hearing both one side saying that it didn't do anything at all, and another side said that it got affected too. But I
No,
digress.
the only reason I'm saying that it crashed in Europe is because in the 83 crash, in Europe you saw a resurgence of home PCs. People gaming on what were the PCs of the time. And plus there were some weird mom and pop style consoles that, like, the original Populous was not on was on home PCs, so on a cassette tape, because there were
Yeah,
consoles that used cassette tapes. Like like
those are
I
some
mean this
slow,
is
those are some slow motherfuckers out there, man.
yeah, they are. Yeah, like Dungeons and Dragon, they're not. Double Dragon was on a console that had a cassette tape, and it was only in one color. But cassette, I mean, god damn, a cassette tape, you know. but but I digress. So basically, but there was the crash didn't happen in Japan, or at least not like to the extent of the other parts of the world. And a toy company saw what was going down. They're like, hey, we can make money in this field. but we're going to have to market it differently. And so first they released it in Japan, and it dominated Japan. It was called the Famicom. And then they had to get into the American market. They were like, well, shit, we're going to have to get into the American market. I don't know how we're going to do this. And they said, okay, we'll market it as a toy. We won't even mention that it's a video game system. We'll call it the Family Entertainment System. Okay? A robot. And it had 2 games. Okay? It had Gyromite and what was the other one? Gyromite and
I can't even remember.
I can't remember the second game. I know Gyromite was included with the system if you got Rob the Robot, but because the black box games took 2 years to come out. Like Mario didn't come out for another 2 years. But anyway, they released that, and the rest is history. So, I mean, and Nintendo basically mopped up with the NES. It took the U.S. by storm. So you'll find older people who, like, even if you show them a PS3 or a PS4 or an Xbox, they're like, "Hey, get off that Nintendo."
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see.
As a kid back then, I was infuriated when people was doing that type of mistake.
Get off that Nintendo. I done told you for the last time to get off that damn Nintendo. If you don't get off that Nintendo, I'm going to take it and throw it in the street. So, I mean, but a lot of other companies saw that they were making money off of this. So, in 1988, in Japan, the TurboGrafx 16 came out. Oh, actually, in Japan, it's called the PC Engine. The PC Engine had, it was the first 16-bit. I'm using air quotes when I say that. 16-bit. The Turbo 8-bit processors, but we'll call it a 16-bit console. And a lot of the games on the TurboGrafx to the NES, Nintendo had to do themselves, and they didn't have the library for it. Which you gotta have IP, son. Sega released the Master System in Japan and in America, and it got its ass curb stomped by the NES because their market was the market share was their mind share was too strong at that point. But then Sega said, okay, this was 1989. They said, we'll be back. We got something for your ass. We got something. And later on that same year, they released the Sega Genesis, a.k.a. the baddest mofo. If you are a Sega fan, this is like the best console ever. I would beg to disagree, but I digress. And they began a campaign that we will now call the Third Console War. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Oh, God.
So, we have Dr. Feelgood here, who I believe might be able to expound upon some of those commercials back in the day.
Oh, come on, man. I don't want to break up those memories.
You're not the only
okay,
one.
fine.
But
Here's the thing.
I will say this though. I will say this. Compared to today's gaming market, today's advertising,
It was better back then.
today's artificial console war, if you believe there really is one, if you're dumb enough to think there is one, I say that.
Oh no, that's not an artificial war. That's the fanboy wars.
I mean, that was a real console war because the two companies were directly attacking each other. See, today you don't see PlayStation really attacking Xbox except when they did their reveal and how their system did things that or allow things that Xbox One wouldn't have. But back then, the whole damn generation they were attacking each other. Nintendo was directly attacking Sega. Mario was kicking Sonic in the nuts. I mean, it was that was a
True again.
It was
true
beautiful.
console war and probably the only one. Truly.
I
That's when the companies
mean,
actually gave a damn, back then because
no,
they were trying to prove a point.
I won't say it was the only one because remember that. Well, you probably don't remember, but during that second console war during the early '80s between Atari and Intellivision, where they had that guy, our system actually looks like the actual games. Atari just looks like beeps and they never seen two juggernauts masters allegedly go at it like that.
Oh my gosh, did I just
I
lost?
find it I find it really really funny though thinking about today compared to back then. Back then, like if you bought one, you really were choosing the side.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
today it's more like you have a preference.
Well, I won't say that. I'll say that it feels like for me, and this could just be my own personal opinion. It feels to me like you have a choice. You can either have or a lot of really bad, or um, you know, or a system that has bland first-party IPs and some awful to halfway decent third-party games. That's basically what you get.
That sounds like we're on a radio or something, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, this is this is all the okay. This is what I like to call they call this, and think it's vastly different. Whether you like Sega or you don't like Sega,
How can you not like Sega?
well, here's the thing. I'm kind of like of two minds. I earn a place at the table. I don't like Sega because, like, a lot of the shady stuff that we see now in gaming began with Sega's console war. Not all of it, but some of it.
I was just being facetious, but yeah.
So basically, the whole giving third parties all of this power, that kind of began the slide of gaming in my. I mean, for me, when Nintendo had third parties by the gusto, in my opinion, we got more, we got less garbage, less just shit thrown on a console. Games came complete, and if they were busted and broken, they suffered the consequences for that. Because it didn't sell and they lost money.
Oh, and also put a tight nip on how many units that they can produce for it to be sold, which we're seeing some of that effect now.
So now that we are talking about third parties and the console war between Sega and Nintendo, and we all know that there was this company Tengen that did reverse engineering for the lockout chip for the NES, and well, Nintendo sued them, and well, they went bankrupt. But you know what company tried to do the same thing with Sega?
Um,
Okay.
I'm curious.
EA.
I didn't even know that happened with Sega.
Yeah, it
Who tried to
was
do it?
EA.
I didn't even read the
Oh,
book, and
oh,
I get at the wall and hope it's stuck. But I mean, generally, if you look at some of the most effed up events in video game history, like modern video game history, EA is behind it.
Yeah,
no question.
yeah, EA was trying to do the same thing with the lockout chip of the Genesis. So the one name that is key on the console wars between Sega and Nintendo is Tom Kalinske. Uh, he he was the guy that started uh, the console war between Nintendo and Sega. So he get to an agreement with Electronic Arts or EA to publish their games for a smaller fee, so they don't do bootleg cartridge for the Sega Genesis. It's weird how EA it's has always been this kind of shady. Those
Douchebag company.
yeah yeah. Uh,
Douchebags for quite some time.
that book, the Console Wars, it was, as I said before, it's too biased against Nintendo and Sega of Japan. Seems like Sega of America really liked to spend a lot of money on advertisement and events, and
Yep.
Sega of Japan was really upset that they just kept spending money on advertisement. Uh,
Well, look, it worked for them with the Sega Genesis, but the problem was that they basically the problem with Sega is that they gave way too much power to Sega to their other branches. Like they treated their other branches like they could be trusted. And the thing is like when you give a man so much power that they're their own little fiefdom and they can do whatever they want, in a company like any type of company, you invite dissension, okay?
yeah, and
And
also,
that's what happened because Sega of Europe. The only reason that you got the 32X is because Sega of Europe was like, shit, we're making too much money off these Sega Genesis. We need to increase the life of the system. 32X.
yeah, I think the Tom Kalinske was actually CEO of Mattel before
Yeah.
Sega, and he did a lot of monopoly practices.
Yep.
Uh, a lot of shady things. Seems like Sega of Japan was actually they knew that they weren't as big as Nintendo, but they do this the approach that at least we are making a profit. But the CEO of Sega of Japan uh, really wanted more, wanted to be Sega to be as great as Nintendo. So it was like a civil war all the time between Sega of Japan and Sega of America. Um, uh, they when they interviewed the original designer of Sonic, uh, he said
Yuji
that
Naka.
I don't remember the name, and
Yeah,
I
Yuji
think
Naka.
he said that he just bought the Felix the Cat head on the Mickey Mouse
Mm-hmm.
body, and that's Sonic. But Well, I got to give it credit to give some credit to Tom Kalinske and Sega of America that the original concept of Sonic was too 90s. Like originally, he had a electric guitar and a jacket, and
Oh yeah, I saw those those alpha arts out there. Was really
Well,
really too edgy.
the thing is that that wasn't even 90s. Originally, he was two 80s, and then they
yeah,
made him two 90s. The reason it's so hard to reinvent Sonic is that he's too much of a product of his time, and like he doesn't have the agelessness of Mario. You know, like
yeah,
Mario's been a 35-year-old dude with overalls, a cap, and boots, and that's what he is. You know, he's not trying to be edgy
yeah,
or cool. He is who he is. Whereas Sonic was created from the ground up to be edgy
yeah.
and
And seems
cool.
like through all the book, the high point of Sega was actually Sonic because they never I mean it never gets better than the Sonic, the first Sonic game. Like
I
the
disagree. I like two.
I mean
I also disagree. I like Sonic
commercial.
Adventure 2.
I'm talking about commercial success. Like they get like 50% of the market share with the Sonic franchise, but they really don't have any other hit. So
Well,
uh,
they couldn't. I mean, you have to remember the game that launched with the Sega Genesis was Altered Beast,
yeah,
and I mean, I hate to say this because I've played Altered Beast sucks.
yeah,
It's not a very good game.
yeah, it's too
It's not.
dated.
No,
Alter Beast has
it wasn't good at the
the
time.
yeah, Alter Beast
I,
seems to have the arcade mentality. Like it
yeah,
doesn't feel
because
like a console game.
I went to my friend's house, and when in I went to my friend's house, he had just gotten a Sega Genesis. It was like 1990. I was 4 years old, and he had a Sega Genesis, and it came like he had two games, Altered Beast and like a Fantasy Star game. No, no, it was Shining in the Darkness.
Yeah,
And I'm sitting here playing Altered Beast. I'm like, I'm just walking around punching monsters, and in order to get an orb so I can become a monster myself, and then I get to the level and some dude steals my powers away. Brilliant.
yeah. And also, aside from the third parties that want to have an alternative to Nintendo,
Yeah.
was also the game magazines. They were upset because Nintendo Power had the exclusives. Like so the other magazines didn't have anything new. So they got a deal with Sega to get the exclusives. So they stopped to have a Nintendo coverage. Um, and also Blockbuster was angry because Nintendo didn't like the idea of game rentals. Uh, Everyone was really wanted Nintendo to die off. They really wanted to kill Nintendo back in the day. So
That's a
Sega,
shame.
But you know what
yeah,
though? Just based on that information, I can say this: when you have a product. Now, I'm not saying Nintendo was never conceded at any point because we know they were. But when you have a product and you want to make sure you control that product as much as possible, you do develop means to do such a thing. Like, for example, I cannot lie. If I was in their position back then, I would try to control every aspect of my own product. So I would feel the same way. No, Blockbuster, we don't want you renting out our games because that means people don't have to buy our games. That hurts our business. You buy 10 copies, or 1,000 copies, and that's great. But you're preventing us from selling another 500,000 copies because people are going to just rent the game for 3 days, beat it, and then give it back. So I can see,
Exactly, which
so
is
I
what
can
they
see them.
did.
Yeah, so I can see Nintendo as a smart business wanting to have total control of their own product, and people see that as like, oh, that they're monopoly. No, Nintendo just believes in being a self-contained ecosystem. They do. They just want to control their stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but if I was a business owner and I had a product that I know some people wanted, I would try to control the production, distribution. If I could, if I could handle it, I would make it myself, sell it myself, price it myself, market
Yep.
it myself. Because that way, there is no misconstrued, there is no one stealing, there's no one taking advantage. Just like now, and this is slightly related, but I read an article, and this is in reference to I think it's to the amiibo. Do you know that even though Nintendo sets their prices for stuff, I read this article. They say, but Nintendo can choose the retailer can choose to price things how they want. So, so here we are thinking that it used to be that when it was a street date, that date was in stone. When it was a price, that price was in stone. But nowadays, Nintendo can say, "Here's Mario Party. Suggested retail price is $49.99. If they want, they can sell it for $70 if they want to. If they want to launch the game early, they can do that. They have no control over it anymore, and I think that pisses Nintendo off even today to some extent that they make a product, they set a date, they set a price, and people, retailers, do not have to obey that.
I just
Yeah,
saw I, I just saw a news sometime a few days ago that the new the golden amiibos that comes out now are actually priced. I think it was $3 more expensive than the normal ones, and I'm like, is this Nintendo's doing the prices or is it the retailers? I was
And well, that's a good question because the article I was referring to was about the Canadian price increase. How
Yep.
Amiibos are going to be like $3 or $4 higher, and the article stated that after Nintendo like sells on a product, they can set their own price. And to me,
Yep.
that's kind of messed up because you bought it from Nintendo for one price. Now I understand that the retailer does have to make a profit, but at the exact same time, that's kind of not cool, but that's also fair business practice. So I can see both sides of it, but I can also see where Nintendo has been doing what they've been doing for the last 2 years. Nintendo Directs are their own media. They're basically their own media company.
yeah,
People may get information, but they can promise you information that's not misconstrued, misquoted, anything. They can get you deeper and deeper into it with their treehouse than any publication.
and
yeah.
and
As I said before, the magazines really had a grudge against Nintendo Electronic Game Monthly or something like that. So let me
I
put
think
it
so.
this way.
Possibly.
Let's imagine that Nintendo recovers 100% of the market share for console gaming. That would really be bad news for any any media outlet like IGN and the magazines, because I mean, if Nintendo has the all the content that people actually care, so why people will buy any magazines or get their information from any other medium that isn't a Nintendo Direct?
I see where you're going with it. So basically, if Nintendo was the sole console maker in the market, they're the only ones making games, period, as far as console games, people like IGN and GameSpot, they would lose 80% of their money
Yeah, they will
because
have no content.
they would
They
have
will
nothing
have
to
nothing.
review or sell to people.
Yeah, the key word with Nintendo is that Nintendo really likes control. It's not a bad thing, but always with
It's bad for
every
those that like
empire there will always be rebellion. There
Let
will
me
always
let me
be
put it this
rebellion.
way. it is not a bad thing, and I'll say this. I know some people get mad. Well, we need diversity. Look, we had a great video games, and that's all that really matters in a video game. We had great games when Nintendo was in control. Hell, we had great games. We're slugging it out. This bullshit that people call a console war now. First of all, the games are shit. I'm sorry. Now, that have less content than games from 20. Those game now. Okay. Because the whole point about technology is that you're supposed to be moving forward. You know, like speaking of EA, I played the most recent SimCity game, and then in order to compare that SimCity game, I plugged in my SNES and I played a SimCity save file that I've been playing on and off for the last I want to say 23 years. I can make a bigger city on my SNES, SimCity 2000, than the current newest version of SimCity.
You bloody what, me?
Is exponentially. That is SNES.
No, you're pulling our legs, right?
No, I'm deadly serious. Future of gaming when third party they can just put any shit out and people
Um, Speaking about the console wars, there during the Sega Nintendo console wars, there's only one good thing that came out of that war.
which leads to
So Nintendo, it's really takes his time to make a big change, like for example, releasing games on digital discs. Like they really didn't want to make the change from cartridge to CDs until the GameCube era, and their how can I say it, their indie policies, like the Nintendo eShop, it's better than we were, but it really took ages for Nintendo to start to be more flexible for some aspects. And one of the biggest changes Nintendo made during the console wars between Sega and Nintendo was that they finally allowed to another company to make a Nintendo first party title outside of Japan. It was Donkey Kong Country, because the budget for Donkey Kong Country was only the budget for a commercial, for a TV commercial. That's the budget for Donkey Kong Country.
really
Yeah.
it's a damn good game.
Yeah.
That must have been a
I
triple A
think
game for its
at
time.
the time the CEO of Nintendo of America really wanted to make a game made on the United States. So he went to Japan and had an interview with Yamauchi. He says that like they are really Japanese, like they were really condescending with Nintendo of America, and on the aspect that Japan only can do great games. Like Japan only can do Nintendo quality games. So the thing is that the CEO of Nintendo of America asked Yamauchi what was the cost of a TV commercial, for them, and he said that it was about 30,000 US dollars. So he said, "Well, give me that
30,000?
money and I can make a game." So, that's the story. I think it was due to the pressure and yeah.
Well,
Oh,
that is a very interesting story, but you know, um, I mean, you saw these two. You saw Nintendo basically actually putting up a fight, but even back then, they were taking the long view.
yeah.
See, the thing you have to realize about Nintendo is that Sega was very reactionary, and in the end, that pretty much destroyed them. You know, like
Sega
if you
And
never
Nintendo was
have,
visionary.
well, yeah,
uh,
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that Nintendo was proactive, Sega was reactive. Like the 32X was a reaction. Okay, the Sega CD was a reaction. The Saturn, to an extent, was a reaction. You know, like the Sagata Senshiro commercials in Japan were a reaction because the N64 was kicking the Saturn's ass in Japan. Okay, and they were like, "Oh shit, we can't lose in our home country." So they came up with an awesome marketing campaign where some judo superhuman dude will beat your ass if you don't play Sega Saturn. Um,
Nintendo, I mean, Sega of Japan was actually upset of the decision of Sega of America of make a bundle of the Genesis with Sonic. I mean, on North America, it was bundled with the Sega Genesis, but Japan sold it separately.
yeah.
Just because it's like they really try to sabotage one to another. Like for Sonic 2, there was this launch event, Sonic Thursday, no, Sonic Saturday, something like that.
It was Sonic Tuesdays.
Thursday, and Japan released it on Sunday, just to say screw you to Sega of America. Like it was like they really hate each other.
Well, I
And
won't say that they hated each other. It's just, I mean, I've said this before. Basically, when you
Culture.
are the parent company, it's literally like parents with your kids. If you have, like, you wouldn't let your kids take over your household. Sega let their kids take over their household, and that's on them because they just, they didn't have the balls to do what they should have done. I truly do believe, and I'm not a Sega fan by any stretch of the imagination. I like a lot of their games, but I'm not like, oh God, Sega. All good things come from Sega. I believe Sega would still be in the console business if it wasn't for Sega of Europe and Sega of Sega US basically sabotaging them and fighting them tooth and nail.
yeah. Also, I remember when you told your anecdote of that you some of the Japanese when you went to Japan that they ordered you a mayonnaise thing.
Yeah.
Uh, they did something similar from to one guy from Sega of America. They ordered a fugu.
Oh God. Well,
Yeah,
that's actually like luxury food in Japan. I mean, I wouldn't eat it. I've eaten a lot of things, but I'm not going to eat something that could kill me.
yeah.
Um,
So they were laughing at him. They knew that it was dangerous, so like if he didn't eat that thing, he will be like a coward to them. So, but he ate
Man, I
the thing.
really hate that.
Yeah. I think that was a douchey move, but he actually ate the fugu and yeah, but like
well, I mean,
I don't understand.
I would like to go more into this topic. As a matter of fact, we could devote an entire podcast to Sega versus Nintendo. But I would like to talk about now about the current state of the faux console wars, and what does it take to earn a place at the table. What I mean by this is what you have to do in order to say that you are a upstanding and contributing member to the video game industry right now, especially if you're a console manufacturer. I would say you have to have first-party IPs. Your net benefit has to be positive versus negative. And I would say that not everyone who's lumped in this group is pulling their weight.
And Sega comes in the picture. I mean, Sony comes in the picture.
Actually, Sony earned their lumps. I'll tell you the truth. With the original PlayStation, they stole a lot of their ideas from Nintendo, so I'll throw that by the wayside. But the PS2, the PS3, how they had to battle that back, they proved that they had the chops for this business. And even with the PS1, they had a certain level of there were some very interesting first-party IPs that even now I still love. Like, I would love a Paw Rap of the Rapper 3. I would love that game. But we're not going to get it, so I don't. At this point, I just don't care.
Well, you know what I can say about that though. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Now that we are talking about the current state, is that it's from before. I don't want to keep talking about the past console wars. I just want to say that any of you guys know Sony ImageSoft?
Wait, what was that?
I know that they made a game. They made like 2 or 3 games for the SNES. One of them was Sky Blazer, which was really a fun game. It's actually a really good game. I mean, it's a really good game.
Yeah. They localized games developed in Japan and brought them to North America. But the president of that company actually went to Nintendo to negotiate the licensing fees and all the policies of Nintendo. That was during the SNES era.
Yeah.
The key word here is the mentality of today's companies is this. It's too similar. He wasn't pleased with the policy that they can only publish up to 5 games per year.
Yeah.
Well, of that policies. But the key here was that he really didn't care if the game was any good. He literally think that. Yeah. What it really mattered to him is that he spent a lot of money on that game development, and he was upset that Nintendo was saying that you can't, you really have to pay those fees and you have to follow these rules. Like, he was more upset about the profit. Like, he really didn't care if the game was bad. He just wanted. He wasn't involved with anything related to the actual game.
He just wanted a nice paycheck.
Yeah, and he wanted to magically become huge profits just because he spent a lot of money, and he really didn't do anything aside from that. And
well,
I think
he had a laissez-faire attitude to economics, which is where if you keep your hands off and no regulation, no quality control, as long as the money keeps flowing in and product keeps flowing out and money keeps flowing in, you're good.
No, it's not the same thing with video games. It's like today, okay, I spent like $50 million for a game. I don't care if it's a good game. I just want to get my money back. And I'm sure I'm going to get more money if I keep doing the same thing, regardless if the quality of the game is good or not.
It's like consumer trust be damned.
Yeah, but that's modern gaming.
But
But
see, that's.
anyway,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Dr. Feelgood.
Well, I was gonna say, just remarking on. I know you brought up PlayStation a little while ago. Thinking about it, and this is not to troll anyone, but Sega lasted roughly what 20, 25 years going against Nintendo before they actually finally stopped, like they gave up.
I won't even say they went up against Nintendo. Like literally, people always say Sega.
I know they went against themselves. They were basically fighting themselves, but
They
overall,
shot
I mean,
themselves in the ass. You know,
in the grand
Nintendo
scheme,
just.
but in the grand scheme, they were Nintendo's competitor for roughly 20, 25 years.
Yeah,
And that's how long they lasted before they finally just said, screw it, we can't keep doing this. And they basically, to me, they could have competed, like you said. They would have just pooled their resources together and stopped fighting amongst themselves. They could have
Oh,
kept
yeah.
competing. We would probably have a Dreamcast 2 right now, but that's another story. But PlayStation's been around for roughly 20 years now, and with the way their
yep.
latest consoles looking, to me, and like I say, I'm not trolling anyone. I'm a fan of all consoles, and I own
I'm not.
many consoles since the
I'll
Atari.
troll
But I will
people.
tell you this:
I'll
the
troll people.
PS4 is looking real, real similar to the Dreamcast. Now, people always
Yes, it
said
is.
that the Wii U is like the next Dreamcast. Like, nobody. In a sense, in
No,
terms of functionality, you're right. It's pushing boundaries. It's trying something new. So, technology-wise, it is like a Dreamcast. It's flexible.
not business wise.
But business-wise, the
No,
PlayStation 4 is looking like a Dreamcast because basically it is selling well and it is popular, but at the exact same time, it's being done in by a company that's on the last leg.
yep,
And the
yep.
Dreamcast was Sega's last, it was their last chance, and what ruined it? Like you said,
It
Sega
was a
ruined themselves.
it was a good. And here's the thing: the Dreamcast. After, okay, I know some people. I love my Saturn. Good for you. The 32XY. The Sega CD. Actually, I like my Sega CD. I really do. Even though some of the units are a little finicky, and you have to. Like, I know a guy who repairs those things, but that's another. I might have to do a video about certain consoles to watch out for. Um, but the Saturn, I mean, the Saturn. If you lived in Japan, the Saturn was an awesome console. If you lived in America, the Saturn was like neutered. It was like you got a champion breeding pony, but it was a gelding. Okay, it's like I'm gonna breed champions. That's a gelding. It's totally useless to me in breeding capacity. Um, so I mean, speaking of that, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. A company that didn't even bring anything to the table, just bought their way into the industry. Um,
I will have to
All
disagree with you
hell.
just one
All
tiny bit.
hell.
Yeah, that they actually did bring something. It just flopped
but
for the most
anyway,
Hold on,
part.
hold on. But before you guys go off on this company, I will say this.
yeah,
I appreciate this company for a couple of reasons. A, they did what no other company at the time was willing to do. And I'm pretty sure it's because they studied the market and their would-be competitors.
mm,
But they brought a console to the market that basically did not try to nickel and dime us. For example, when you had a PS2, the thing had no onboard memory. Even a
yeah,
Saturn had onboard memory, damn it.
yeah, yeah. It
The
wasn't a lot. It was a
PS2,
very little bit, but yeah,
it wasn't a lot, but at least if I bought a couple games on my Saturn, I could save those bastards.
yeah, yeah. That's
So,
that's true. That is
so
true.
A, they brought a system that came with 4 controller ports, standard.
Yeah,
Now, I understand the N64 did it before then and the GameCube too, but I'm simply saying they brought a system that had tons of memory, so no need for memory card unless you need to transfer. It
yeah,
brought us Xbox Live,
yeah.
and it brought us custom soundtracks. So, with those 3 things, I can appreciate what they brought to the market. I just hate the fact they forgot about them.
Okay, I can torpedo two of those three things.
Oh,
First of
come
all,
on.
they gave us a hard drive. So now third parties could ship us broken ass games to be patched later to be fixed. They gave us they gave us what was the other one? They gave us they gave us custom soundtracks, which is actually really cool. I like that. I'll admit that's pretty damn cool. Um, they gave us the four player controller ports. Nintendo did it first, so yeah, you stole something from someone better than you. Yeah.
No, no, no,
Um,
not stealing. More like um, imitation is flattery.
no, it's theft. But anyway, so Microsoft is a great company. Microsoft, the Xbox division is a great division because they gave us so many awesome things. They gave us Halo. They didn't create Halo. What they did was that Apple was when they came out with their new PC, they wanted to have a good launch game for it because Apple always got screwed over by Windows because any game that came out that was Windows compatible took about 2 years to hit an Apple PC, an Apple computer. So basically, they were like, "Well, shit, we're gonna get a jump on Microsoft. We're gonna have Halo." And I remember watching that tech conference where Steve Jobs came out. This is before Steve Jobs got the cancer and looked like he was all fucked up. He's like, "I'm fine." I'm like, "No, Steve, you're fucked up." But um, but anyway, Steve came out there and showed off Halo. But this is the prototype of Halo. It was a third-person shooter. But I mean, aside from being third-person, you could tell this was Halo. And Microsoft said, "Shit, we need a launch title for our console. We'll buy this. We'll buy out this studio," and they did. And they didn't
The
actually
rest is
create an
history.
IP. Yeah, the rest is history. They didn't create an IP. They didn't develop the skills to create their own IPs. They just bought a studio. When the
Okay.
Xbox 360 launched, and they
Hold on.
wanted to reach that Nintendo audience, what?
Hold on, Red Fox. Okay, they bought Halo. So, um,
Yeah,
how did Blinks came about?
Blinks was an attempt
I don't know.
for there was an attempt by Microsoft to create their own system
Make their
mascot.
mascot.
And the thing
Yeah,
is,
but they
it would have
sucked
been a
at it.
cool mascot, but Blinks didn't sell
If they'd
like
have
Halo
stuck with
did.
it, but it's
And
Microsoft. I mean,
Microsoft said, "Well, fuck this. This is not going to work. So let's just
yeah.
go
I
ahead and
mean,
make Master Chief our, system mascot."
yeah. But then there was Xbox Live, which is great until you realize that it took until like halfway through the Xbox 360's life, where the Xbox where Live had a censorship system and controls. Because I remember vividly playing games on the original Xbox with my friend, and games on the Xbox 360 before they changed it, changed the Live system, having people say how they had sex with my mother and called me a faggot. So
I
please
was actually
forgive me if I'm not impressed. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's the great thing about local multiplayer. Someone says they had sex with my mother and they're sitting right across from me, they're getting knocked the fuck out.
I'm actually quite surprised I'm actually quite surprised there wasn't that many lawsuits going left and right at that time.
Okay,
Well, it's not going to work because
to me, here's the
live, you
thing.
signed a disclaimer.
But see, here's the thing. Back then, although the same thing that Nintendo tries to avoid was happening way back then,
Mm-hmm.
back then people they had the immediate notion that they were going against a billion-dollar company and that they got unlimited financial resources to make your ass back out of any lawsuit.
Yep.
'Cause I'm sorry, if back then, if I was being sued by Microsoft or I tried to sue Microsoft over some bullshit like that, I would immediately realize, even with my young mind, then be like, you know what? They
They're
can
going to
spend
stomp my ass.
tens of millions of dollars on lawyers just to make an example out of me. I don't have. I'm sorry, but I bet even a quarter point lawyer would give up at some point. So it's like back then you knew you were going against a company that they spent their whole lifetime in lawsuits, whether it be with Apple or anyone else. Whereas
Yep.
Nintendo, they've had very, very few lawsuits, but it's mainly people trying to take shit from them.
Yep.
So that's the way. I'm not saying that's the way they saw it, but that's the way I would look at it. Is that I would be fearful knowing that I'm trying to sue a multi-billion
Yep.
dollar company.
Yep.
It's like saying it's like actually calling someone at the Department of Defense saying I'm gonna blow your ass up. That's a check you just can't cash because they'll probably kill you before you hang up.
Yep.
I
And
guess
here's the thing you need to realize about Microsoft is that even back then, Live had a disclaimer. You couldn't sign into Live until you signed the disclaimer. The disclaimer said that anything someone said to you while you were playing Live, you could not blame it on Microsoft, even though they created the system that made this shit happen. But whatever, or allowed it to happen, create the circumstances that it could happen. I don't really care about that because when I played, I eventually wised up and I turned. When I played Xbox 360, I turned the shit off or didn't even have my shit plugged in. So
You know what?
it's a moot point.
But see, that brings something to mind because now thinking about that, about their disclaimer, they had a disclaimer. Nintendo, even with the Wii U now, they don't have a disclaimer. They have a policy. And their thing is
Yep.
basically in terms of be nice and courteous, don't use certain language, or we have the right to ban you or restrict your access. See,
Yep.
whereas other companies say, "Hey, look, whatever happens, happens. It's no fault of ours. This doesn't
Just
reflect
can't
us."
sue us. Yeah.
Nintendo is like, Nintendo is taking on. It's like, look, you sign into our service, you must obey our rules, or we will kick you the hell out.
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
And I like that. But we
yeah,
aren't talking about that. We're talking about Microsoft and their greed and how they're ill-equipped.
but you
I
know,
mean,
here's the
I've
thing.
never seen.
Hold on, Red Fox. But here's the thing here, because apparently a policeman lost his job because he was playing on an Xbox, or I think it was no, yeah, it was on the Xbox One with another person, and he was trolling the bloody hell out of him. And until this policeman said that he gets paid to beat people like them, and oh my God, when he said that, he was definitely gone. He lost
Yeah,
his
but
job for that.
that's not Xbox's thing. Someone reported that and they fired him. That's not Xbox didn't have shit to do with that.
Yeah,
But I digress.
that's the thing. You think, okay, um, screw the lawsuit to Microsoft, but you would think something like that would have happened more. But yeah, I digress.
But anyway, so and I saw it like around. It was like watching someone. It was like watching Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story when he still thought he wasn't a toy, and they took his thing off. He's like, "No, this is just flipping and flopping around." I'm like, "Damn, it's like you don't know how to be a console manufacturer or a first-party studio." It's embarrassing. I feel sorry for it. Like, look, I've never felt sorry for a multi-hundred-billion-dollar company. I
No,
felt
not a
sorry for
company,
Microsoft. I'm
a
like,
division.
I felt sorry for the Xbox division. I'm like, damn, you're 2 cans short of a 6-pack there, son. You're a few bulbs short of a dozen. And it wasn't their fault. I don't think it was their. Well, actually, I do think it was their fault. I'm being facetious.
Well, that's naive.
I think that basically Microsoft was completely. I mean, we know that Sony was unprepared for this console gen, completely unprepared because we're seeing remasters of games that came out like 4 or 5 years ago. First party games, not third party.
At least, I find that acceptable than something that came out less than a year ago.
I think the only way something can be a remaster is if it came out 2 gens ago. If it's 2 gens or more, then you can remaster it.
No,
If
no,
it's
I have the perfect definition of a remaster, and I'm going to tie this into how what Hollywood considers a remaster. When a movie came out in 1950 something, we all know that was probably in black and white, or if it was in color, it was when there was only 8 colors on the television. So when Disney says,
Technicolor.
"Oh, we got Cinderella, we remastered it in beautiful 1080p, high definition, blah blah blah," you know they went from basically 200p all the way up. They added not it didn't have just 16 colors. It probably has millions of colors, so it looks way better, even though it's an old ass cartoon. To me, taking upscale 540p, which the game is basically it's upscaled to 720p, I think on the PS3, and you're gonna make it 1080p native on the PS4. Now, I understand that cutscenes you may see a little bit of difference if you have a good eye and you're really close to your damn 50-inch television. But if you like most people and you're playing between 27 and a 42-inch television and you're about 7 or 8 feet away and you're actually doing live gameplay, actual gameplay, not cutscenes, there's no difference. There really is. There's no difference.
Yeah,
That's like saying
Metropolis is a remaster. Um, what can I say? Metropolis. And Nosferatu on Blu-ray could be a remaster. The Last of Us, God of War is just the original
no,
material on someone's hard drive. Just
no,
you
those
just
are more
you
uncompressed
ported
those
it
are more
over.
upgrades, not remasters. Those are
Yeah,
upgrades because they were already in high
you
definition in the
ported that
first place.
shit. I'll give you a remaster, okay? Because Nintendo was doing it before anyone, and I'll prove it, okay? The jump in graphical quality from the original Super Mario Brothers trilogy on the NES to the Super Mario's trilogy on the SNES with the what was the name of that thing? Super Mario All Stars. That was a huge jump in graphical quality with a little bit of new content and stuff like that. That was a remaster. The jump from the original Metroid on the NES to Metroid Zero Mission, which is the same game, roughly, although with new content added, better graphics, new systems added to make it more accessible.
That was good.
That is a remaster,
That was wicked.
okay? That's a remaster. Taking a game from last gen and basically just porting it over your next gen console, that's not a remaster. That's a re-release. that's what that is. That is a re-release with a minor graphical upgrade.
Well, hey, it got a 10.0. That's all I gotta say. So they must have done
What
something
got a
right.
10.0? God of War or Last of Us
The
remastered?
Last of Us got a 10.0 on the remastered.
From who?
They got a perfect score from IGN, dude, didn't they?
IGN? Yeah. Did they score it? Did they say it was like a remaster? We can't score a remaster. Although knowing
No,
IGN and how much
no. IGN, I think they
how
gave a
much they
perfect
love,
10.
yeah. Considering how IGN has their lips permanently surgically attached to Sony's
Ah,
chip,
don't.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they did give it a high score. But I digress. Basically, shit. Even the Wind Waker, that jump from the GameCube to the Wii U, that's a remaster.
Yeah, I mentioned
Yeah,
I
this in
can't
my
even
post.
look. I
I
have
put when
both
I posted
games.
that basically 360p, which is probably what it was running at on the GameCube, even though it was very powerful. 360p on a GameCube, if you want to use graphical numbers and output, and you're doing 3 times that on the Wii U, that
I
is
want
a lot
to
more.
say, like Mr. Red Fox, Wind Waker HD. Actually, they made new models for the Wii U release while keeping most of the source code and added some features. That's a remaster. But for, let's say, PS4 quote unquote remasters, they just use the original models that they do on the PC, because we have to understand that from games from PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, they do that on superior hardware like on PC. So they just um, lower the quality to be able to run on PlayStation 3. So now that they have a better hardware, PlayStation 4, they just copy and paste the models. They don't really do that. It's
Yeah,
not a
but
remaster. Like
done that.
it's
Like I
not.
remember those HD re-releases they did on the PS3 and PS2 classics, and I'm like, these games they just ported them over from using PS3, and it's not even really utilizing the hardware to make it look better. But we're tumbling into a different thing. Basically, I said earlier that these companies earned a place at the table. Sony earned a place at the table. Nintendo damn sure earned their place at the table. Sega even
At the
earned their
head of the
place at the
table.
table. Well,
Big,
hell, Nintendo built the damn table and made the chairs that everyone else was sitting on, but they get no credit for it
yeah.
because they're Nintendo. But
Not even get credit for it. More like being lambasted on it.
they get, well, I don't know if they get lambasted. I do know they don't get credit for it, and people steal their ideas and say, oh, well, like, I find it hilarious when a third-party developer's like, we're really inspired by The Legend of Zelda or Metroid, but their game's not on a Nintendo console. I'm like, really?
Now I
That's
would
kind of,
excuse that. Now I would excuse that to a developer or a publisher that is exclusively tied to a non-Nintendo company. But third parties, yeah, you guys are freaking slide right there.
Do you guys think that Bloodborne it will be the must-have game for the PlayStation 4?
No, and
no.
that's not me trying to be negative because I really are. Like I say, I'm a fan of all consoles. I really am. But in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, Bloodborne is nothing but, in a sense, their version of Gears of War, but you put zombies in it or in werewolves or whatever. That's basically all it is. A little hack and slash, Gears of War
Yeah.
with some gunplay. Like that's basically all it is. So to me, they're not really trying to innovate. All they're doing is
Nope.
taking tried and true, genres or games or even features and just simply put their own coat of paint on it. Just like they tried to do with Knack. Like that wasn't
Let's not
that
bring
wasn't
that up.
innovative.
Let's forget Neck because Sony wants us to.
Okay,
No,
uh,
no,
uh,
no, 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 no. I mean, okay, look. Like I say, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not. This is my opinion. You don't have to
I'm
agree.
just saying we need to let's not bring up Neck because I
No,
mean
I
that
want to I
game
want to
was
bring
Because
up
god
Knack
awful.
because the
I'm
things
saying
no
that
because the things they brag about when it came to Knack before release, the things they were bragging about and just putting out there like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, dude, I mean, these things have already been done before. You're basically taking concepts from Mario and Vector Man and maybe a little Metroid
Crash
and put them
Bandicoot.
into one game. That's
Yeah.
all you're doing. There's nothing
you know
special.
the ironic part. You know the ironic part of that. It's not even a concept that they improved upon.
No,
Well,
all they did was take different concepts from different games and put them together, and that's it. Just like they took what they did with
so it's a
PlayStation All
Franken
Stars.
game.
Just
Well, I asked you guys. I asked that because I don't know if you remember when the PS4 was released and people start to saying that the PlayStation 4 has no games, and you always read this response like, okay, but wait till we have these games, and they always write the same list. And seems like in on currently that list is shrinking. Like they
Well,
just forget that they say like, okay, wait till knack.
no,
So
wait till
we
Knack,
get
wait till the
knack,
order,
they forget it. So
and
wait
wait
till
till
infamous
Bloodborne.
second son, and they forget it.
Oh no,
Wait till the order 180 and 86, and they forget it. Now wait
yeah.
until Bloodborne is released. So after Bloodborne, what other game is out there for PlayStation?
Here's what people
I'm gonna
need
make
to
a
understand.
prediction. This is gonna be just a real small thing. I think Bloodborne's gonna get a 7. I don't care
Yeah,
about numbers and reviews, but I think it's gonna get a 7.
I think it might be better than that. Here's what people. I mean, that's what the official websites are going to say because after the bullshit hype that they've built up about this system, it needs a game like the game. But here's the thing. It's going to score well. If only for IGN and the gaming websites that have been paid off by Sony. But I mean, here's what people need to understand. Sony, it's a first-party IP for Sony. This is a first-party game for them. They paid for it to get made. The thing you need to understand about Sony first-party IPs is that they have not been good since the middle of the PS2's gen. Okay, Sony first-party IPs are dog shit, generally speaking. And I'm not saying that because I don't like them, even though I don't. I'm saying that because they get critical acclaim, they sell like garbage. Okay? So if a game is that good, why aren't people buying it? And I
Doesn't
know what
this?
some people are going to say, well, you bought Wonderful 101. Yeah, I like Wonderful 101. I'm not going to say it's the most accessible game for everyone. Wonderful 101 is a hardcore game. It is a game made by gamers for gamers. This is the type of game I would have came up with if I was 9 years old and had the ability to program games when I was in a good way. When I was a kid, because it's a game for gamers, but made by gamers for gamers. If you are not someone who's been playing hardcore games for years, Wonderful 101 is not for you. Okay?
I'm actually surprised none of you brought up Bayonetta, and I mean the 360 and PS3.
Bayonetta's same way. Bayonetta is a game for gamers, made by gamers for gamers. If you have not been playing games like Bayonetta and you try and ease into it, ooh, no, you're not. It's kind of like if you don't. It's basically I would put it akin to if you're drinking alcohol. If you were to drink um
Mm,
if you don't drink and then all of a sudden you started drinking like 80 proof tequila and 100 proof rum, that is
Ooh,
a long jump.
no,
That's a
no,
long jump.
no ice either. So
You gotta start off at a certain level and then work your way up. Um,
guys, I'm watching a preview of a gameplay for Bloodborne. It's like looking a dusty old furniture in your grandma's house.
oh,
Looks
come on.
dude. That is an insult. But we got some questions here from Anderson Archilla, and I think we should answer it before we wrap this up. Although, before we do that, Triple M has a topic, quick topic, I'm guessing, about a certain survey that was done. So take the floor, and then we'll do questions and wrap this up.
Now, I actually saw this survey on Nintendo Everything. Um, wait. Oh crap! Yeah, almost forgotten how to do a screen share. Sorry.
What?
Oh what? Oh, f this. I'm just going.
You can just tell us about it. We don't need to see it.
when when I saw this, I was pretty shocked to see these answers. One out of three, I wasn't, but and shout outs to Bear Hugger 29 for bringing this up on his YouTube channel as well. But I see top factors driving 8th generation consoles purchase by platform. Now, mind you, there's
I
there's
remember
this
this.
yeah there's certain things say owners age 13 plus. So from
Yeah.
teenager going up. Now we go on to the Sony PlayStation 4. The first thing that's no, the top of the list is no. Let's go from bottom to top because this it's still mind-boggling. But yeah, number 5 for the Sony PlayStation 4, what the family wants. Uh, okay, it's reason why it's popular. Number 4, faster processing power.
Blast processing.
Yeah, that
Blast processing.
eight gigabytes of 8 flop RAMs. But number 3, game library. Now we just discussed about
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. For our viewers out there, if we did not mean for that to come out like outright like that, we do apologize for our outburst.
No, I don't
But that shit was
apologize. I'm
funny.
laughing because what game library?
Considering we were just talking about this moments ago. But yeah,
What game? Please, if anyone's listening to this and it's on YouTube, please put a substantial list of the games that aren't third-party garbage or third-party multiplats that can be gotten on everything else. What games
no,
that
that's
are
I'm gonna make
only
it better.
that's too harsh. That's too harsh.
No, I'm gonna make it better for you. No third party, not broken.
Yeah, like it
Oh,
can't have more than 3
and,
patches.
and it must be critically acclaimed.
Yeah, it can't have more than 3 patches.
And to
If
make it
it's
worse, it can't be an indie title.
yeah, it has to be AAA. It has to be AAA.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get 5 games on that list, I will. Well, I'm not going to do anything, but
I will send you a Shulk amiibo.
I'm not sending anyone. I ain't sending nobody shit.
We were talking about the PlayStation
Yeah, we get a little
4.
wild around here. So
We're
what were you saying, Triple M? What was the number one reason?
Not even before that. We go to number 2, Blu-ray
Yeah.
player.
I got that one.
Actually, see that.
Okay, hold
We're
on,
talking
man.
about
Now,
the PlayStation 4.
okay, I'm sorry, but the PS3 is still one of the best Blu-ray players out there. So that's not a good reason.
I don't.
Uh,
We
uh, uh,
And here's the
uh,
thing: if you have a Roku, Apple TV, or even a smart TV, because I got 3 smart TVs in my house that you can hook up to the internet, and you have a Netflix account, Netflix shits all over Blu-ray because Blu-ray is 1 disc, 1 movie, or if you're lucky, it's like a dual thing with 2 movies. Netflix gives you access to thousands of movies.
It's
and
about
TV
the
shows.
Not even that, but you can actually get a Blu-ray player now for like $50, so that's not even really worth the purchase of getting built in anymore.
now, but
$400.
here's what I ask. Does the PS3 is able to put native resolution of 1080p, or is it 720?
No, it upscales.
It ups.
Like,
It,
It upscales
like
to
for
1080. It's
example,
not native. It upscales
when you
to
buy a game on PS3, let's say for example the most popular one, Call of Duty. On the PS3 and Xbox 360, it was 540p, which is still
Yep.
technically high definition. It was
Yep.
upscaled to 720.
Yep.
You know, when
And what
people
about the
mean
what about the
processing power as a feature, they really don't know what actually processing power is. Um,
Nope.
I mean, the fact that, for example, the Sega Genesis had quote unquote a
Fast
faster
Flash
processing.
processor
processor.
than the SNES, that doesn't mean that most of the games, I think a little bit, a smaller amount of the game library of the Genesis actually used like above the 90% of the processing power of the console. Uh, it's just that it just doesn't push the limits of the hardware. It really
And
doesn't do anything.
I, I can
And
think
you
of a good
know
example of that.
that your console doesn't have really good games when in the top 5 of the best rated games you have FES on it. Like, like the must have title for your console is freaking FES.
No, Fez is a good game. I
But
know because Phil Fish told me
No,
doesn't
so.
no, 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 no. Your console does not have games when the top 10 games purchased on it are all third party.
Yeah. Yeah.
but do you really
That's blue.
want
That's
to
called
buy
bullshit.
a for like three 99 console just to play an indie game that can run on a Android phone?
Oh my
Everything
god.
else.
I'm
If
done.
you have
I'm
a
done.
PC, if
okay,
you have
but
a PC or a PS3 I mean, goddamn. But what was the number one reason?
yeah,
Uh,
I wanted to ask this
Triple M.
to Dr. Feelgood. Now you said it upscales the games, but now what about the movies themselves
The
on the
movies?
PS3?
Well, when you put it in a disc, the movie on that disc is typically in 1080p.
Yep.
So it does have to upscale it. The PS3 can process 1080p, but their games and its architecture did not allow it to actually have those games made
In
natively in 1080p.
1080p. Yeah.
It couldn't do that
So I had to
because what people
upscale
don't
it.
realize is that 1080p that takes up a lot of damn memory. You see, games are mostly about frame rates and basically transfer information.
Yep.
Transferring 1080p frame by frame, especially game 60 frames per second, that takes up a lot of memory. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that PS3 did not have VSync on it like the Wii U does.
It did not.
All
It did
right.
not have VSync, which is why you had games on the PS3 that would clip, and it was not fun. So what was the number one reason, Triple M?
All right. So, for a Blu-ray player to get a Sony PlayStation 4, if you already have a PS3, then yeah, that's out the window. Yeah, you really had to change my stance on there, unless your PS3 got broken. But anyway, on to number one. The number one thing is better resolution.
Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
get
Yeah,
that.
it's
Let me
better
say this.
resolution.
Let me say this. Now, seriously, let me say this. If you're talking about, if you're referencing a comparison between the Xbox One version of a game and the PS4 version of a game, yes, in many cases they have been able to obtain a higher resolution, but it was not a smoother frame rate.
No,
So, yes, you're right. You can have a picture that looks 10 to 20% better if you're looking at the TV up close
yeah,
on a cut scene. Like you may be able to see the stitching in the collar of Aiden's sweater that he wears or whatever. You may be able to see the stitching if you get up close and personal on your 1080p television set.
I
But
love
Yep.
how on the priorities for the Wii U, it's number one, it's fun factor, and for the Xbox One, it's the last one. Like they don't care if they will actually have fun with the thing.
We'll be
Well, I
getting to
mean,
that. We'll be getting to that one
let's get
too.
to the reasons about the Xbox One, because we heard the reasons for the PS. Now notice none of these things actually contribute to better games for the PS4. Like none of this
They
actually
didn't
contributes
put
to better games. It's like
greatness. They should really put greatness on number 1 or 6.
no, they
They,
said I'm waiting on greatness.
yeah.
That's what they're doing. But
Anyway,
tell us about the Xbox One, Triple M.
yes, on the Xbox One, we got number 5 as TGP pointed out. Fun factor. Now, I'm quite surprised that is all the way on the.
No, I have a question about
But
that.
at least.
How can a broken game be fun?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now, as someone
Okay,
who owned
yeah.
PS3 and as someone who bought all of Bethesda's wonderful, wonderful games on that system, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, before I got them on PC, before I had a PC powerful enough to play those games. I can tell you right now, those games are fun until they glitch out.
You're a bastard, man.
Oh,
No,
now
they are fun.
that we're talking about Microsoft, Xbox One, now that I think about it, they don't even mention fun on PlayStation 4. At least Xbox One include fun, but PlayStation 4
That's what I said.
no.
Never do they say that fun is a factor for them buying that system.
But also having fun on Xbox One as number 5, it's like, yeah, I just bought this music album because the girl on the cover looks kind of cute. That's why I bought this CD.
I
Really
bought that
baffles
CD
me.
because she had big old boobs. She's not a physical person. I can't talk to her, but
Yeah.
Awesome to oogle at, but yeah. Okay, now on
so
number
what
4.
was number 5? Number was number 4?
Number 4. This is quite shocking to me. Exclusive games / content.
Man, what the
Halo?
Okay, hold,
No, I
hold
will
on.
say this much.
Hold
The Xbox
on.
One does
Hold
have
on.
some good exclusives.
Yeah, it has some good exclusives. Okay, Sunset Overdrive, a
Yeah.
great game I want to play, but it didn't sell well. In fact, Bayonetta sold better. All right, you got the Halos, but at the same time, these games are also like either on PC or heading to PC. So you
Yep.
can't really say exclusive when your titles are still heading to the damn PC.
Uh,
When you say
Now,
exclusive to
now
me,
That
that
is
means
true.
I can't get that game anywhere else but
Anywhere
on
else.
your console. So
Yep.
don't tell my games that's only on the Xbox One and PC because they're still not exclusive. There's still one more way to play that game.
but
now,
let's read carefully because it says exclusive games / content.
yeah,
So maybe they
the
are
word
referring
content.
to using the Xbox One as a Netflix machine, so they can watch TV on their TV.
I don't know, but
I don't
let's
know if
hear his
I don't know of any exclusive content. If you're talking about like maybe third party exclusive DLC that each system gets,
Well,
then
And that,
in a
but
sense they're right.
yeah, but
now
that
that we
about
are talking about content, do you guys, if the Halo TV series actually is going to happen, or they canceled it or something? Because
no, they released it was supposed to be a TV series. Now it's a movie, I guess. I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
keep up with all that stuff.
it's gonna be the next Last Guardian. It was some shit to rope you in, and then once you got roped in, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because you have to remember this system was built upon the concept of TV sports.
there's,
Yeah.
TV sports.
you know,
TV sports.
ironically, I actually did see a movie of Halo. At first, I didn't even know it has anything to do with Halo until maybe 10, 20 minutes at the end of that film, I saw Master Chief. I was like, what the heck? And I saw it on cable, no less.
Maybe they just put Breaking Bad with Halo helmets photoshopped on Walter White. It's going to be. They're going to say it's a Halo series.
And nothing is exclusive about the Xbox One. I'm sorry, except Halo and Sunset Overdrive and Titanfall, and even that's not exclusive because it's on PC
Yeah, if you're
and Xbox
considering
360.
buying a Xbox One, just buy a PC. It's
No,
good.
forget that. Just buy Xbox 360. Titanfall is on there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
now,
so what was the
moving
third
on.
reason, dude? Yeah, what was the third reason?
Number 3, faster processing power.
That's processing again.
Oh
Well, you know
God.
what? Well, hey, I mean, that is accurate. It is faster
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
uses DDR3, not GDDR5. That's me being technical, and of course,
The question is, can
I'll
it
give him
run
that.
Sonic?
Joe that buys a console to play games, they don't know that shit. Now, I'm sorry. If I go ask someone, hey man, you got an Xbox One? Yeah, like why'd you buy it? I'm pretty sure it's not about faster processing. And if I ask them what makes it
They're gonna say
faster,
Halo.
if I ask them if I ask them like, hey, what makes the system faster? I'm pretty sure the first answer he's gonna say is probably Forza. But
Yeah.
that's about it.
You know, most of the let's just get most people bought that are buying. No, continue. What was number two, Triple M?
Okay, number 2. Now, I
Hmm.
thought this happened 2 gens ago, but here it comes.
Oh,
Innovative features.
uh,
You mean the Connect they canceled?
Xbox, watch TV, that kind of thing. Like Xbox, open the internet. When you say the Xbox to do something,
No, I think they're actually referring to the Connect, and that shit's dead.
but
Yep, it's dead.
There is nothing
But
innovative about it anymore. I mean, I'm sorry, but it really isn't. That was the last thing that kept them somewhat like ahead of the curve because it was something that had not been utilized properly. So they had a chance to really take time to dig into it and find a way to utilize it. But
But
it's been
but
cut, so it's dead.
but Dr. Feelgood, what about the 100? I think it was, yes, $100 million spent on innovating the Xbox One controller.
Okay, well, to me, it's basically an Xbox 360 with vibrating triggers.
yep,
yeah,
yep. So what was so
It's an Xbox.
what was
It is a 360 controller with vibrating triggers and better thumbsticks, better quality thumbsticks. So I can admit that controller does feel damn good in the hand. It's probably one of the best ones ever designed as far as ergonomics. I will give them that. But come on, dude. I have never bought a system for the damn controller. The only exception to that is the Wii U. And I
yeah.
didn't buy
actually
it
I
for the
would
controller. I bought it for the features that the controller does give you and with the system offers, but that controller is in a completely different league. Even
And
NASA
I
has admitted that
disagree.
that controller is very advanced.
I disagree. I bought my N64 because of that controller.
Yeah.
Because I went to the store. I went to Sears because this is when Sears still sold video game systems. I went to Sears and they had the demo unit and I picked it up. I'm like, how the hell you use this thing? Because the N64 controller, if you were going from the SNES controller to the N64 controller, it was a completely different beast. And I put it in my hands I hit the start thing and I was in the courtyard of Super Mario 64 and I was running around. I was like, I got it. I was like,
yeah,
the
it
Z
just
trigger, one of the best things ever. They need to bring back the Z trigger.
yeah. Well, and
What
now
was number one?
number 1, and this I'm not surprised.
Xbox Live.
No.
No, it's brand.
Yep. You will buy an Xbox One with the same mentality you buy shoes.
So basically, what you're saying is people that buy Xbox Ones are also the dumbasses that line up for Jordans.
Yeah.
Now,
I
now,
won't say that it's the same people. I will say that they share a lot of the same characteristics.
yes. Now,
Because it's like, man, I got to get this Xbox One, and I'm like, okay, now I can understand people getting an Xbox One. It's $349, and you get like 2 games with it. But when it was first released, $500 and a Kinect that no one really wants,
Well,
yeah,
I,
and
well,
why?
no, but I give them more credit than I give Sony releasing the PS3 at 600
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I give them $100 more credit.
Now,
because
now,
if people are like, well, that was the cheapest Blu-ray player. They used to cost $1,000 when it first came out. It's like, yeah, but Blu-ray wasn't even a necessity back then. DVD is still going strong to this day.
Yep.
Blu-ray
yeah.
was a big unnecessary luxury. So if you would have bundled, I wish they would have gave an option. Hey, here's a PS3 with DVD. Here's one with Blu-ray. Make a choice. I would have chose the DVD one after off the bat.
Now, with this, now this may come shallow with out of me, but when I saw the word brand number one, and I was like, okay, judging unto the fact that this survey was being done on the United States of America, and yeah, this is shallow to me, but it seems like Americans would buy things if it was American made or branded.
I don't know who you're talking about, son. I'm a Nintendo gamer. I don't.
I
Actually,
would
I'm
say
gonna. And
this. People overall, to me, when you drive around every day to and from work to school, wherever you go, there are more imports on the road than there are, our own damn cars. And on top of that, when you see a foreigner driving a car, you rarely see them driving a Cadillac or a Ford or anything like that because they know what lasts. Just like when it comes to Japan, they're not lining up to buy Xbox Ones because they don't trust American products. Look at the 360.
yep.
Case in point.
Period.
But then,
It is a fact. Just like over here, people will suck up Sony because Sony was so popular. They built that brand name recognition off the Walkman and a few other things. But now people are caught on. There's more competition. People are offering better products at a lower price, maybe a lesser known brand, but basically the same quality. So now what is it?
And that's why they've been losing money.
That's why
But I
Xbox is
mean, I'm
only
gonna.
popular here.
but then
Yeah,
there's
and
also the fact that it's the person that surveyed this is teenagers or begun at teenagers.
well, they say
So they
13
might
up, so they probably got teenagers and people like young people in their like mid to late teens, mid to late 20s, that
Oh
type
no,
of thing.
they're all teenagers. I don't believe that shit. You look at Xbox Live, man. That's all that plays on that damn thing.
Teenagers. See, here's all I'm gonna say. In regards to me, I'm a look. I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive during the glory days of Atari. I have an Atari console, but for me personally, I don't trust American consoles. I never have. I never will. After the whole Atari crash thing, I'm just like, because I had a 5600, sorry, a 5200, and that, I mean, it was a piece of shit. And that was made by Atari, that good old American company. So
America.
when the Xbox 360 came out with that Red Ring of Death thing, I'm like, nope, nope, not gonna happen. Nope.
And then even after all of that, you still have to question yourself when you see the word brand on the top spot for the Xbox One.
Well, you have to remember, Xbox got people with because there are people who have made substantial friendships over Xbox Live. I personally think that online gaming, especially in consoles, has hurt local gameplay. And for me, local gameplay is more conducive to forming relationships than online gameplay. Now, this could be because I'm old school, and for me, like sitting down playing games in tandem or watching your friend play a game and talking shit while he's playing is more fun to me than putting a headset over my head and talking while I'm playing a video game with someone else. That's just me. I'm old school like that.
Uh, I saw the question of Triple M on the chat. I responded it, but I want to address it here. He asked that the Blu-ray upscales the games, but what about the Blu-ray movies? They can do anything. They really can do anything to improve the experience with the Blu-ray
Well, no,
because they
Blu-ray.
follow a standard. That means that if it works with PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, they also have to work with cheap Blu-ray players because it's a standard.
Now there is one thing. If you are using systems, but if you are using them if you have an older television and you're using standard def cables, then you're not going to get that Blu-ray experience.
Oh
Just
yeah,
wanted to let you know. You're not. You
that's true.
have the
That's
TV.
true.
You gotta have the cables, which was another thing how the PS3 screwed you over because those Blu-ray HDMI cables when the PS3 first came out were like $25 to $50. So you had a $600 system plus tax. Add another like $30 plus $50 for fucking cable so you could play your games in HD. Oh God, Sony. Oh Jesus.
You
But let's
know,
get to the Wii U, son.
I just want to share this with you guys, but I personally mod every single console I have, even the Wii U, so it works with my TV with coaxial cables.
Impressive.
And
Dang, man, you rocking that old school television.
that's too crazy. Obviously, no.
I haven't had a coax cable. I had to get a converter for all of my systems that use coax cables.
I can see myself doing that too when I get the Wii U.
Yeah, it will
Yeah.
be crazy. Like just do a lot of work just to to use coaxial cable on the Wii U.
Oh, if that's what you like. If you have an older TV and it doesn't have the the standard def well, I just call it the red, white, and yellow.
Yeah,
Composite.
Yeah, composite. There you go. Composite cables. Then you got to do what you got to do.
yeah.
For years, I used the cable, the coax thing. But I think we know why the Wii U was bought. I think the big things with that one were backwards compatibility, but the number one was fun factor, which is really, I mean, it's a damn shame that only true gamers are buying this system because
No, it's not.
I mean
No,
that's what true gamers.
no, it's not a damn shame because I look at this the same way I look at the whole Google Plus Facebook argument. I would on one end I would love for Google Plus to be more popular, to have more people, but at the exact same time I don't want to invite the bullshit. I like
Yep.
having a refined community. I don't care if the Wii U only had 1 million people on Miiverse. If 900,000 of those people, actually can play games and talk with civility, I'm fine with that. Xbox Live has over 40 million people, and only about 1 million of them actually have common sense and can talk with you without throwing insults. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
what I
Do
want the Wii U
you
to sell,
guys
but I do
know?
not want to compromise the community.
Do you guys know about the guy on Miiverse that posts comments about the water on the games? Like he uploads a screenshot of Lego City and says, "This is a nice looking water." And
Yeah,
Mario
that
Kart,
sounds like Zane.
yeah, he
What?
always posts
Because
about the
you know
water.
how
Like,
Zane,
this water looks nice.
likes the water in Mario Sunshine.
Oh snap!
Like well, he does. The dude likes the water.
Yeah, it's really
Okay,
good.
okay, I'm
Okay.
going to say this. I I
I'm not
I, I
messing
feel
with him. I mean, the dude likes the water. I'm just
I,
saying, he likes the water.
I feel the same sentiment of Zed because I am living in a tropical area as well. So
Yeah. You like the water. I mean, heck, when I used to live in Florida, one of the things I really loved to do when I would fly in, so there's this portion where you fly over the ocean and the sun hits it and you see the blue. You can see the dolphins swimming. You can see the speed boats. You can see people parasailing. It's like, damn, that's gorgeous. That is beautiful. Just don't go swimming in the water because people dump all types of shit in there. You ask anyone that lives near water. Don't go swimming in that damn water. People just dump all types of shit in there, literally in some cases. Um,
at least we try to keep it
so
clean. Yeah. Now here's the thing that surprised me when I compare um, the Wii U, the list of the Wii U to the other two, which it has price slash value, and I'm like, so the PS4 and Xbox One doesn't have at least value to them because it sounds like to me compared to the Wii U when consumers buy the PS4 or the Xbox One, it's like they're throwing the money away, and I'm like, uh,
well, considering that it was $500 when it launched, no. I feel sorry for people who bought that and then like a month later they dropped it to 400. Like they should get some. There should be an ambassador system for people that got that thing at launch. They should get like something, like
No,
maybe two,
no,
three games.
no. It was actually worse for when the PS3 launched at $600. It was like 3 months later they dropped the price to like was it like 400 or 500, like $100 lower, like almost immediately. In the first year, it dropped way down. So those early adopters got screwed.
And there should have been an ambassador system for them, but that started the long and tragic march of Sony losing tons of money on the Xbox, sorry, on the Sony, on the PlayStation division, money that they still have not made back. They made $200 million this year. Doesn't over the last fiscal year, but doesn't really matter because the rest of that
And
does look pretty cool.
and for those listening, Sony actually lost $1 billion in the first 9 months of the PS3's release. 1 billion.
Yeah,
That was the first 9 months. That system's been around. It was around for another 5 years.
they lost like $13 billion on the PlayStation division. Like, it would take even if it was making $500 million a year, like in terms of profit, it would take Sony with the PS4. Oh, I want to say 26 years to dig out of the hole that the PlayStation division lost them with the PS3, and that's not even including all the money they lost during the PS2 and PS1 era on those systems. They made
what?
profits with those systems. They made profits on the CDs for the music. They made profits on the DVDs with PS2. But Blu-ray hasn't even been profitable for them, so they lost even more money. Yeah, so next time you hear someone say that, oh, Sony sold all these consoles, they're making so much money. They're in a mountain of debt.
More like making so much money just to pay off the debt alone.
No, no.
No, they aren't
Sony,
paying off the debt.
Sony's not even really able to keep their electricity going, dude.
That's why they
Realistically,
sold their buildings, man.
if someone was to call in all their debts to be paid, Sony
They'd be
would throw in the
screwed.
towel multiple times.
They'd
Okay,
be
that's
totally
harsh.
screwed. They'd be like,
That is
well,
harsh.
we're screwed.
The
I mean,
profit
that's
that
the
the
funny thing
PS4,
when I hear
the
people.
profit that PS4 has made can't even make up for half a year of the PS3's losses.
Yeah,
Can't.
like
Christ.
literally, it's kind of like if you're married and you have kids. If you have kids, as soon as you walk into the house, your money is going someplace else. So whatever you got, it's gone. Yeah, I got a check. Let's say I got paid $5,000 in this 2-week period, but that $5,000, let's see, I got to pay my credit cards down, I got to keep the lights on, I got to put food in the fridge. You don't have any profit over that amount because it's already called for, and there's still an mountain of debt. And you have to remember that they got a lot of low-interest government loans from the Japanese government and Japanese banks, that if those weren't low-interest loans that they had gotten in the past, Sony would be in even worse shape. So I find it hilarious when people are like, oh, Sony, they're fine. I'm like, you really don't know what you're talking about, but whatever.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, I got all quiet. Everyone's like, wow, that's... I'm not saying I want them to go out of business. I like having a third party. For me, Sony is my third party console. They're like, but when they said all that racist stuff about black folks, I was like, I got a PC now.
With me,
I'm like,
they said racist thing or what?
I just want them to do better.
They got hacked.
With Sony's actually in a place they truly cannot recover from. People keep thinking they can bounce back. The PS4 could go on to sell another 20 million units this year. It's not enough for them to bounce back as a company. As a division, they're doing fine. The PlayStation division is actually okay for right now, but
as a company,
Sony as a company, they are really done for. That's why they've sold everything but the movie division and PlayStation. The cell phone's gone, the laptop's gone. No one's buying Walkmans. Very few folks are buying their phones, even though they made a new waterproof model. Sony is basically done for, man. Like, I hate to say it, but they rested on their laurels, and now they're going to pay the ultimate price. They are going to truly be the next Sega.
Mr. Red Fox, I've been wondering, you know about business things, so let's say they actually turn a profit doing the restructuring plans and all that stuff that they keep saying every years, like Sony restructuring to is
you
with
mean
a new
Casserize?
Yeah.
You mean Casserize True Harai plan, which is what he's calling it? I shit you not. I'm like, you should get the shit slapped out of you for calling something that. But never mind. Go ahead.
Let's say any of those plans actually work and they actually turn a profit. The problem is the debt. So they can keep stretching the time that they have to pay that debt, or the companies that they owe them can take legal action or something like that.
Here's the thing. Right now in Japan, Sony is too big. Like, if Sony, the Japanese economy is, if Sony were to fold entirely, it would be a major pain to the Japanese economy. So right now, the local government, like, those people aren't stupid. They know how bad it is for Sony, but they aren't calling in the debt. Sony has to pay a certain amount of money towards the loans. Even though they're low interest, they still have to pay some of the interest. They have to. If they don't, the banks are going to be like, oh shit. They can't afford not to.
Okay.
And aren't like banking laws in America. I don't know how banking laws in other places, but same, like, they don't have the same safety net for a bank in Japan as they do here in America. I mean, it's similar in some regards for the nationalized banks, but you have private banks in Japan that don't have that safety net. They didn't opt into that safety net. So, like, they need, it's kind of like when Donald Trump declared bankruptcy for the third time. He owed so much money that if he didn't pay it back, the bank would have gone belly. Some of the banks would have gone belly up. So it's the same way in Japan. Now, if Sony were to turn a profit, the only way I could see them turning a profit, I know what I'm talking about. But the only way I could see Sony turning a profit is if they were to, and they're already kind of sort of doing this, they're going to have to sell off a lot the business that's not making money. There's going to have to be a major restructuring. A lot of people are going to get fired. Or sorry, that's not the. They're going to be found. A lot of positions are going to be found redundant, and they'll have to curtail fiduciary redundancies. That's corporate speak for a lot of people are going to get fired. Okay, and like literally, they're not going to be dealing with the root cause. The root cause of Sony's problems is that the upper level management for out of touch. For 30 years, the upper level management at Sony was out of touch. Like you saw just a few months ago at CES. Well, not even a few months ago at CES, they showed a friggin' a $900 Walkman. No one's gonna buy a $900 Walkman. No one. Look, let me tell you something. If my mom bought a $900 Walkman, I would slap her. And I love my mother. if my girlfriend bought a $900 Sony Walkman, I would slap her. And I don't believe in hitting women. I love her, but I'd slap her. I mean, no one is gonna buy a $900 Sony Walkman, but they made one. A few months ago, they made a 500 gigabyte cassette tape. No one uses cassette tapes.
What? Why even? Wait,
no one.
Wait, an actual physical cassette tape with a tape
it's a cassette
in it.
tape.
Are you bloody kidding
now,
me?
the only thing that would have made this a joke was if it was an 8-track. If it was an 8 gigabyte 8-track, and that would have been like literally. But I mean, Sony has been like this for years. They made the Betamax, which, as we all know, the Betamax failed miserably. It lost out to VHS because it was too damned expensive.
You know what though? I honestly think that even though the market may show favor towards it, I honestly think that the Blu-ray is a failure because I was on one of the folks. I was actually rooting for HD DVD back when they had the format war.
Oh, you
because
too.
I knew it was far cheaper to manufacture.
Yep.
And it had far more features. It had the same quality. The only downside is it was 15 gigs per layer as opposed to 25 on Blu-ray. But even still, overall, it was far superior and based on current technology. I hate the fact that Warner Brothers sided with the Blu-ray, which basically it gave us the definitive winner of the format war. But to me, it wasn't the one that we really needed. And in my opinion, Blu-ray still has not really caught on the way DVD did because it wasn't necessary at the time. DVD still had about 5 more years. And all they do now, the only purpose for Blu-ray right now is when you go to a movie theater, all they do is they take a Blu-ray disc, put it in a machine, and play the movie.
Yeah, I mean, basically. Yeah. And the thing about Blu-ray is this: Blu-ray did not Blu-ray DVDs had another 10 years. Literally had another 10 years. Blu-ray shouldn't have even been talked about until 2016, 2017.
Yes,
I definitely agree with that one. I mean, literally, next year we should have been maybe at CES next year we should see Sony and LG are coming out with a new format. Okay, we've pushed HD DVD to the point where we pushed it as far as we can. It's as cheap as it's going to be. Okay, then. It's time to start thinking of a new format. And by this time, they would have been experimenting with it, gotten it down to where it's... Because remember when Blu-ray first came out and Blu-ray movies were like $40-$50?
Yeah.
It was like, well, hell, shit. I mean, why what's the point? I mean,
why am I paying video game prices for a damn movie?
Yeah, don't get me started. Don't get me... Damn controllers are now. $60? $60. I remember when controllers were like $20.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we won't be seeing a new video format anymore.
No, because Sony, Sony actually made an 8-layer Blu-ray disc.
It's
Yeah.
like, let me
They've
say,
been testing it for
Blu-ray
years.
players are really cheap right now. So if Blu-ray it's really that cheap, why people don't really, let's say here in Mexico, don't care. They just keep buying DVDs. I
Exactly.
I saw back in the day the switch from VHS to DVD, but here Blu-ray never take off. Like
No,
people really don't care.
it really
So
won't.
why bother to make like this will look like the actual film like really high quality. People really don't care anymore. Like
They were
Let,
trying
let
to
me let
pull
me
a
put it this way.
Nintendo and they failed. Because even
Yeah.
Nintendo, the Wii U uses something called China Blue High Definition. It is a
Yep.
derivation of HD DVD. It is way cheaper to manufacture. Has the same amount of memory per layer as Blu-ray. Has the same scratch
Yep.
resistance.
and not
And
to
guess where it is? And
mention,
Yep.
guess what? It is kicking Blu-ray's ass in China
yeah,
3-1.
and not to mention
Dang!
Yep.
the Blu-ray really hurt Sony really bad against the
Yeah.
HD.
Because basically, they won the battle, but it was a Pyrrhic. They won the war, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. Because
Yeah,
basically, they forced a format change. That because basically, here's what you need to understand about Sony. After they struck gold with the Walkman, they felt their shit didn't stink. So they were like, okay, what else can we basically take over and force like a format change? So they did it with Betamax. Okay, Betamax was Sony's baby. Betamax sucked. Okay, now here's the thing: Betamax had better graphical fidelity, but like literally, it was like an 8-track. It was Betamax was an 8-track, except in video form. Like if you had a long movie, it would stop in the middle of the film, and you'd have to take it out and flip the shit and put it back in there and get to the other side of the film. I know this because I saw. I remember watching Fantasia, not Fantasia. What's the name of that damn movie with the Luck Dragon and the Never-Ending Story? The Never-Ending Story on Betamax, and I remember them getting to a point in that movie where they had to take it out and take the shit out and flip it. I'm like, what type of bullshit is this? Because I had VHS at home. I had VHS at home. You know,
Six bloody
VHS is
hours.
awesome.
And another thing
It
about
was
this
it
whole
was just
format war that pisses me off, I actually feel sorry for most people that fall for it. Because right now, only time I buy Blu-rays, and this is a God honest truth, 90% of Blu-rays I buy around Black Friday and holiday times where I can get them. I can get brand new movies for like $6 a piece that come with the Blu-ray,
yep,
DVD, and the ultraviolet digital code. So three things for $6 to $8 max. But that's besides the
yep.
point. What gets to
Now
me
that's a steal.
is that now we're all keep in mind 1080p is still not a standard. Blu-ray was to
Nope,
usher in a new standard of basically graphical fidelity when it comes to movies. Just all-around quality, audio quality and video quality. 1080p is still not standard. The
nope.
reason why I say this is because yes, every Blu-ray is 1080p. I would say at least 95% of them are, but how many satellite and cable and network television stations support 1080p native programming?
Ah,
Zero.
okay. Now I see. Okay.
Zero. I take that back. No, I think DirecTV does a few, but most of the HD stations are 720p. Your TV may upscale it to 1080, but native, most stations, about 90% of them are doing 720p. Netflix is talking about doing 4K programming, and people around here buying these 4K TVs and 2K. It's like, guess what? Nothing supports your bullshit. Nothing. I actually know a friend that went and bought a 4K curved television. It's like, dude, nothing supports it. The only thing I've seen support it is that the Sony one, it's like a big Bravia Sony television. It's like 4K with the speakers on the side. It costs like $5,000 or $6,000 basically. 60
Ooh.
to 70 inches. Guess what? it's a 4K television. I admit it is beautiful. But Best Buy had a deal when you bought that TV. It came with a Sony streaming box that had like 10 movies on it, all made by Sony, and they were in 4K format. But this thing was basically like a 700 gig hard drive
Yep.
that streamed Sony movies to your television. Basically, they were downloaded movies like Amazing Spider-Man, the other Spider-Man movies, anything made by Sony. It was like only about 5 or 10 movies that came with it. That's it. Other than that, that TV you would never get 4K quality again. So
Yep.
people are
Yeah.
actually buying shit that is not supported. When it came out and announced the PS4 saying we support 4K quality, no the fuck you don't.
And even if they did, no one's spending $20,000 on a damn 4K TV. No one.
Not,
Okay.
no,
Okay. If you're
no,
rich,
no, they have cheaper TVs now. But here's what got to me: you had a promise on your PS3 that games would be native 1080p. You can't even get the native 720p. And
well,
then
I mean,
on the
it's Sony.
PS4,
They
you
lie all
can't
the
even,
time.
the PS4 only has a few games that are native 1080p. How the hell can you even handle upscale 4K?
The console
I'm
would
asking a
break.
real question.
The console would scream uncle and run away to its mom.
No,
Um,
I know. I have a better no. I have a better idea. What would happen is we would get an order 1886 that was only 10 minutes long.
exactly.
If it
Oh,
was just 4K.
And that's why that game was 6 hours, because they look. I played that game at my friend's house. We played through it in tandem. Let me tell you something. That game, that game was literally it was 6 hours long. You could beat it in 5 hours, between 5 to 6 hours. They used every technical trick they could to keep that game at a steady 1080p, 30 frames per second, not 60, 30 frames per second. And here's the kicker. This game was using fog, like the N64. You know, I thought after the N64 we were done with fog in order to make the frame rate be a little bit more stable, but apparently we're still using fog now. It used fog. It used pre-rendered
Hold on.
backgrounds.
But was it dark fog?
No, but it was like fog. It was obscuring fog. And here's the thing. I understand it's supposed to be London and London's foggy and shit. There was fog in the inside of buildings. I mean, literally,
yeah.
this game was just really I mean, I didn't say this earlier. Look, it's a Sony first-party IP. Their first-party IPs have been shit for many years now. And I know some people, well, I liked Uncharted. Good for you. It's not a very good game. But it's basically, Uncharted is essentially Tomb Raider, except you don't have a hot female lead, and the puzzles aren't as good.
Now, all of this that we're saying, the key word comes to my mind is future-proofing. But just do future-proofing just for the sake of it is not really the right way.
No. But here's a real kicker to your statement. How can you future-proof something when we've already reached the technical limitations of your product?
Exactly.
For example, look at the
Yes.
Xbox One. For the most part, we have reached the maximum potential what it can actually offer us.
Yep.
1080p, 60 frames per second on some games, not all.
And it's
on top of
struggling to
that,
reach that.
and then and if you just look at the games that are out, that's pretty much all it offers. Sony, the ones that brag about, they'll have better RAM, more advanced RAM, all the gigs, all the cores. Most of their games are still not 1080p 60 frames per second. A lot of them are
Nope.
1080p at 30, but not 60.
And some
if
are
it is 60,
900p, like 60 frames per second.
exactly.
not
So those
1080p.
two systems in their first year we've already seen their potential. There may be a few more technical tricks to get more gameplay or features in, but we've already seen what they're capable of. Now the Wii U, it has not been maxed out. There are features that Nintendo has mentioned that we have not seen or heard of yet, like dual gamepad support. This system has not been pushed, and I think the only two games that have really pushed it are Mario Kart Bayonetta, and Smash Brothers.
Yep. Smash Brothers. That game is 1080p, 60 frames per second.
with
with
8 people on the
players.
screen at the same time.
Like it ain't four people playing. I'm like, 8 people, because I did this when that game came out. I got it, put it in my Wii U. 8 of us were playing that SOB. No slowdown, just smooth as butter. Smooth
Yeah,
as. I mean, it was goddamn.
I gotta mention about Mario Kart 8 because is it really 1080p? Because I thought
It's
um
720p,
No,
I
no,
think.
no, not all Wii U games are 1080p. No, Mario Kart is actually 720p
Yeah.
at 60, or if you believe the article, 59 frames per second.
Yeah, because there's a
yeah, because
missing.
I was going by that
No,
because
Mario
I knew it
Kart.
was 720.
I
Mario
remember
Kart
when
is
someone was
720. Yeah.
trying to troll me saying like have fun with your Mario Kart 8 at 720p and 59 frames per second low. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Like, of
I
course I
mean,
will.
here's my thing with that, and this is why Nintendo's smart. Then it's smarter than the other two. If you've been watching videos on YouTube or watching movies or Blu-rays or whatever, when you switch from 720p to 1080p, there is a small, barely noticeable difference.
Difference.
But the amount of memory that you're consuming or the amount of bandwidth that's required to maintain that is more than twice as much in some cases. So
Yeah.
Nintendo thought to themselves, right now 720p is a standard across the entire damn industry. If it, I mean, it looks good on every size television set up to basically 55 inches. After that, you start seeing differences. That's what 1080p starts to shine.
Yeah,
So for
this
those
thing,
people that have 70-inch TVs, they need 1080p so their games can look just as good as a 720p game put on a smaller TV. But that is a sweet spot to our damn industry right now.
you know,
720p is easy to maintain, and it's also very good looking.
Yep.
this thing about technical comparisons and power, it's really getting old because it's really pathetic when one of the games of the year was Shovel Knight last year. And yeah, so yeah, who cares
Now
about?
now here's the thing.
And also, never trust Sony. Sony just really had luck with the PlayStation. It's like actually the PlayStation 1 was actually meant to be an edutainment machine.
Well, it wasn't luck. You have to remember everything they learned about how to make a console. They learned from Nintendo. They stole the idea of the PlayStation from Nintendo. And
Yeah,
then, because I saw the prototype unit for the Sony PlayStation, it looks like a Super Famicom. Literally the controller looks exactly like a Super Famicom controller. I'm like, these sons of bitches, these unimaginative, no talent hacks.
don't you think
Now, but
it's weird what happened on the launch of the PlayStation 1? Do you guys watch the video of the E3 when they announced the price of the PlayStation 1? It's like the the launch of the PlayStation 4 when
The PlayStation, like I said, the PlayStation 1 was good because first of all, it had CD support, and second of all, and this is why I said Sony is a very shady company. They
yeah,
basically went in Japan at least, and they bought 10% of Square Enix or SquareSoft at that point of SquareSoft, and they basically told Square they curtailed all of the third-party support that Nintendo had in Japan of the games that we loved, like the RPGs, the quirky little games that wouldn't be made by Nintendo, and that really, really hurt Nintendo in Japan. They still had third-party support from Western developers with the N64, but third-party support from Japanese developers on the N64 was almost nothing.
yeah, but seems like really Sony wanted to take over the market like in a more aggressive way than Nintendo's like. At
Of
some
course.
point, they tried to team up with Sega, and they really don't want to any pesky third company to be a potential threat to them.
Well, I can tell you this much. They should have been smart because here's the thing. Sega went toe to toe against Nintendo and they lost.
Yeah,
Many companies that were way tougher than Sony went up against Nintendo and got like I mean in terms of like creativity and making games that were interesting and different. Um, and they got curb stomped by Nintendo. That's the thing that always shocked me about companies making handhelds. I'm like, everyone who made a handheld against Nintendo's handheld had a more powerful handheld that could do more, and it got curb stomped by whatever little plucky little shitty handheld Nintendo had. I
but you
mean,
guys didn't watch the video of the E3 of 1996 of when they announced the price of PlayStation 1?
I
um,
did not, but
no,
I can still
No,
remember that it was.
PlayStation One
It
released in
was
'95 though.
the
in Japan, yeah.
president of Sony at the time was this guy Steve Steve Race.
No, it released in the US in
Just
'95, dude.
walked he just
Really?
walked to
Hmm.
the podium and said 299 and everyone cheered like yeah, and that's the conference. Like it's like the conference of the PlayStation 4.
Well, dude,
Uh,
you forget that Sony actually, and they've been doing this for years.
yeah.
Sony relies 90% of the time on anything that can build hype.
Hype.
Yeah, but you want to know what happened when the PlayStation 4 got those sales number like that was a success. What happened to to those guys? All of them were fired.
Well, do you also know the PlayStation 4? Sony had the exact same plans that Xbox One had with the
Yep.
DRM policy.
They already have a
But
DRM.
But when Xbox decided to go first and do their own reveal, I think it was in February, and they got that huge backlash,
Visceral.
Backlash.
Yeah.
Sony changed. That's why they came out late when they with their showing.
Yeah.
Sony had to. They went back.
They were
They
pulling
went
shit off
changed
of that thing.
everything.
Yeah, they were
They
like, "Shit, we gotta change this shit."
because their original plan was to release the PlayStation 4 with the PlayStation camera, or whatever. Because that was like their version of the
The
Kinect
Connect.
that
Yep.
but when they saw people didn't like the price, they didn't want the down connect or whatever, and they heard the whole DRM policy backlash, Sony completely flipped the script. They had the exact same plan. The
Yeah,
exact
Yep.
same plan.
yeah, I know that they do a lot of
Shady
shady
shit.
things. See,
Yeah.
and you want to know, you know what? Steve Race actually was a Sega ex-employee. So
Well, I
Wow.
mean,
he
look,
did
let's
that
be honest
like
though. Sega had a lot of ex-employees that are kind of douchey. There's always my personal favorite, the devil himself, Peter Moore. I swear that man could be in a burning building and he could get out without a scratch. That man has
I
been
can
on more
imagine that.
sinking ships. That man has been on more sinking ships and gotten off and not a drop. He could be on a sinking ship in the middle of the ocean, not land in sight of miles around. He could get out and be on a beach sipping a Bacardi margarita and not a drop of water on him.
Yeah.
it's weird how
He's
long
the devil.
this guy, what's the guy that step off of CEO of Sony of America last year?
Jack Tretton, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he last several years, isn't he? It's weird because Steve Race said once, I don't know if it's a xenophobic comment. He said that the way to attain success at Sony was to either get into or come out of a Japanese vagina. Yeah,
What?
he
Oh,
said
what?
that. So I don't
And
know
with
what.
that, I'm going to questions because That was a little too.
Unexpected, man. How,
With that, I'm going to
I've never
question.
seen
That's a little
a
too.
Damn,
Nintendo
Yeah,
damn,
it's a.
damn,
employee to
Yeah,
damn.
be
it's a,
that salty
yeah.
about Nintendo.
Look.
Like,
Look. I like bullshit busting as much as the next person, but that's a bridge too far for me. So here we go with questions. This one's from they're all from Anderson Archella, so we're good because he gives a good question. This first one is: should people reconsider what competition between the big three means? Doesn't seem anything Nintendo has done has been to counteract what Sony and Microsoft have done, which is next to nothing. Not much. Not much competing.
They should. I mean, people should because, like, I forget who mentioned this. I think it was Mrs. T or someone else part of the game was at large. But these people at these companies, these CEOs and COOs,
Yep.
CFOs, they're all best friends. They all go out together.
Well,
Like,
I'm not gonna say that,
I
but
mean, but what I'm simply saying is the way that people are bashing and trying to start up console wars and keep the flame going, they don't really feel the same way. Like they actually go out and have a beer with each other every now and again. These people don't think there's a console war, and especially Nintendo. Nintendo, I don't know why people cannot. They don't see this.
this
They've
shit's about
always done what the
business.
hell they want to do.
It's about
yeah.
look, because Nintendo. It's about okay, Nintendo, and I hate to say this because I know it's gonna make me sound like I'm not very pro-American, but they take a very Japanese-centric view towards how they make their product. They're like, we're gonna put out a quality product. We're not gonna screw you over. It's gonna be fair value. Which is why when I hear people say, "Well, they need to cut the price of their console," fuck you. they have a high look. They have a high quality console with high quality games. You know,
And plus,
I
and
mean,
plus, their console's the only one that can actually play their old games. Their
yeah,
console's the only one that supports many, many control variations and options.
exactly. I mean, they don't force you to buy new controllers. They fucking give you the main controller you need, and you can use all your old shit. I mean that even your GameCube controller, to an extent. Um, and yet, I mean, that's like someone coming up to me and saying, "Oh, well, I don't like the price of your games. I mean, I don't like the price of how much of your food. You need to lower your price. Fuck
Have
you."
you? I'm sorry, to the people that says to lower the price of the virtual console games or even
No,
games from
period. They
Nintendo in
need to
general.
lower the price of all their stuff. I don't. I just don't. I don't like that.
But have they seen how pricey they are out in the market, the used market? God,
Yeah,
that kind of hit me.
I can say I've definitely seen some. There are some very, very classic or old school games that I really want, but I'm
Very
sorry,
expensive.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to pay
Yeah.
$150 for an NES cartridge. I'm just
Yep.
not going to do it. But
It's.
I'm glad Nintendo and two games they took the approach with and I really appreciate are Mario Galaxy 2
Yep.
and Metroid Trilogy. You couldn't find like Mario Galaxy 2 is actually very expensive now. Not as expensive as the trilogy, but it actually can cost you about $80 to get a copy of Mario Galaxy 2
Damn.
used.
Damn.
And that's what
I've never seen prices that
and
high,
that's
but
what
I know it's like $70 at GameStop, and that's brand new. $70. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, I've seen a used one there for $26. But I mean, seriously, people need to. I would say this: Nintendo consoles did one thing that the rest of them have not, unless you bought unless you bought a bundle. The basic version comes with a game.
Yep.
The only exception to that, no, it wasn't even an exception. No, didn't the white Wii U did it come with a game or no? I don't think so.
No, it didn't. But the deluxe edition, and really, if you're gonna buy a Wii U, why would you get the white one? Just get the black one. You get more stuff.
Exactly.
Um,
But the GameCube came with a game. The 64 came with a game. This SNES came with a game. The NES came with two games. It's like, and the Wii came with a game.
yep.
How can you people want to even talk down upon a company that when you buy their system, and let's say you open it on Christmas Day when all the fucking stores are closed, You
and
got something to tide you over to the next day.
you got a game. I remember when I got my first Nintendo system. It wasn't NES, y'all. I was 4 years old. It was my fourth Christmas, and I unwrapped that Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and it came with Super Mario World, and my little ass was set. Okay.
Okay.
I wish my parents had a camcorder, because you could have heard my little ass screaming all the way to Mars.
N64 kid, yes!
I unwrapped that little son of a bitch, and I was like, Super Mario World? Because I mean, you have to remember, at this point we didn't know jack shit about this system. We didn't know, and I put it in, and it opened up. Like it started with the music, and it opened
No,
up.
the moment you saw that, the moment you got that gold cape, you were set.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When you leave the first world and you could find out you could fly, it was like, I'm set. This is the game for me. They need to bring back that cape. Damn it, Nintendo. Bring it back. Bring back the cape. Bring it back. But and I don't mean in Smash Bros. I mean literally, like, have a game where Mario can run fast and jump and fly away. That'd be cool. But I digress. Basically, I think that their games are pretty. I think that they give great value, and I'm tired of people saying, well, they need to lower the price of their system. I have a better idea. How about, instead of lowering the price of their system, how about the other systems get some better games to make their systems more enticing? Because I'm not buying shit because of hype.
Or even have value.
Anyone else enjoying Codename Steam might be a niche Nintendo IP that might fare as bad as the Wonderful 101 did, but just like that game, I'm having the time of my life fighting back an alien menace with a quirky cast of characters.
Do you guys remember when all the review sites treated Yoshi's New Island like the Antichrist?
Yes.
Well, it's from Nintendo. I mean, like, when Nintendo does a new IP, it gets shit on because it's not Jesus, but
No, you know what, Red? Not even that. In my opinion, they shit on the new Nintendo IPs, and it's very, very ironic. People always say they need to have new IPs, but then once Nintendo creates a new IP,
they
they're
get
like,
shit on.
the first thing they say is, "Why didn't you make another Mario game? Why give us this?" Well,
What?
hold on, damn it! You just added. You just
said you wanted
complained
this.
if you wanted something new.
You know,
now you want the old. Like, make up your mind.
The thing that gets me is that, with Codename Steam, a lot of people were bitching. They're like, oh my god, Will Wheaton's in it. It's also got one of my favorite Klingon characters in it as well. Well, it's got Michael Dorn, the dude who did the voice of Worf in The Next Generation. So you've got two Star Trek alums in this game. And you know what? I love that shit.
I'm sorry. I have never, ever in my life turned down owning, renting, or playing a game just because I did not like the voice acting. Because I can tell you like this.
Okay.
One of my favorite RPGs of all time, Final Fantasy X, the voice acting in the American version was not that great.
Oh, God.
It wasn't that great. But the story was great. The gameplay was great. But the voice acting, at least in the cutscenes, I'm sorry, in little conversation scenes.
Did you want to kill Titus too? Did you want to kill Titus? Me personally, I was like, if I could just, this game would be perfect if I could replace Titus as the main character with Oron, or a Stick, or Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, anyone except Titus, this game would be awesome.
Yeah,
but
do not play that shit again.
very funny.
What the fuck?
Let's move on to that again.
That's actually one of the cutscene to where, well, not a cutscene, but it's a scene where he says, like, just laugh it off or whatever, and that's his laugh.
Yeah. It was, oh god, I mean, here's the thing. 10, okay, for me, the quality of Squaresoft RPGs started going down after they left the 16-bit era, but I mean, Final Fantasy VII was okay to me. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy, but it's okay. Final Fantasy VIII, I played it, I beat it, I 100%ed it, found everything. I still don't like that game very much. Final Fantasy IX I liked because it was more fantastical. It wasn't as techno. But 10, oh my god. When they jumped from the 32-bit era to to the PS2 era. Oh my God, Jesus!
Now
For the love of God, 10. Ugh.
here's the thing I wanted to say about the whole Will Wheaton thing. Me personally, I also would not scare myself to not buy that game just because of a certain person that was voice acting that I do not like. Now, compare if it was something like if someone that I do not like actually directing or producing specific game, like the whole debacle about Anita Sarkeesian being directing or something or to that point with Mirror's Edge, then yes, we have a freaking problem.
Well, considering that it's an EA game and EA games haven't been good for quite some time, it's a moot point. But I don't think Anita Sarkeesian is going to help or hinder that game. But I digress. Basically, I have Codename Steam. I haven't been playing the online because I'm more of a single player person. But I'm enjoying the game. I like playing as Michael Dorn, a.k.a. Worf from Star Trek The Next Generation. This is a game where he isn't getting his ass kicked like he did in Star Trek The Next Generation all the time. He's like this badass Klingon warrior, and he's always getting his ass kicked.
Oh, boy.
The only time Worf was ever a badass was when his wife died, and he killed the guy who killed her. That's the only... Well, his wife didn't die. She was murdered, and he killed the guy who killed her. That's the only time Worf has ever really been a badass. And so now I get to be badass John Henry, Michael Dorn John Henry, who shoots grenades at people. Because, they couldn't give him sledgehammers. They gave him the next best thing, grenades. Because we can equate grenades to sledgehammers. So, yeah. Wonderful 101's awesome. Next question. I'm going to present it now. I don't suppose any of you gents have played, or in Mr. Fox's case, own an F-Zero AX arcade machine like the one at the Circus Hotel in Las Vegas. A good source of adrenaline. It makes me feel shittier than the Great Mighty Pooh for not playing GX. I am the Great Mighty Pooh. And Mario TGP hates that game. Speaking,
I don't hate it.
Yeah, you do. You talk shit about the Great Mighty Pooh. You got to suffer for that.
I don't hate
good
it.
news
I
for
say
Conquer
it's
fans.
over-glorified, like overrated. It's not that game. It's not that game.
It's just not great. For good news for Conquer fans, they are releasing an episodic version of Conquer set 10 years after the original. For Project Spark. Episodic content, and for
so
one
that's
thing,
what it is.
I'm gonna get it because you can play it on your Windows 8.1 enabled device, and that's the only reason I'm not gonna upgrade yet.
I would rather play Conker's Bad Fur Day or Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie instead of playing, let's say, Project Spark. Because
the only reason I'm doing it is because I like the characters.
I have a question in regards to this.
At least I know if I play Conquer, at least I'm going to have fun.
Yeah. I just want to fight a giant pile of shit. That's all I want.
Well, I have a question, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, now, we've seen some specific IPs come back and land on Nintendo consoles from yesteryear, but when it comes to Rare's IP, such as Banjo-Kazooie, such as Conker's Bad Fur Day,
yeah,
does anyone here actually know the current standing on the license for those games? Like, who owns them? Who has control of them? Technically,
Microsoft has control of them. They have control of all of the IPs that Rare themselves owns. So Rare owns Banjo-Kazooie. They made it. It's theirs. Now,
so why didn't Rare actually do Donkey Kong Country as well?
Yes, here's the thing. They did Donkey Kong Country, but they used the IP, but the characters that they made for Donkey Kong Country, because Donkey Kong, the IP is owned by Nintendo, the IPs that they made to go along with that, the Kremlings and shit like that, is actually Nintendo's, which is why they could have Kremlings in that game. It's kind of like when they re-released Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong Racing, and you played it, and they had characters like Conker wasn't in it, Banjo wasn't in it, but they replaced them with 2 Kremlings and shit. Because basically but the Kremlings are still very much Nintendo owned, and they're still, because if you play Smash Run in
they're in there, all right.
the Kremlings are in there. The Kremlings are on, which is why Nintendo, if you make a Donkey Kong Country Tropical, whatever, a third one, Kremlings, Return of K. Rool. We're waiting on it. Come on, Return of K. Rool. Come on, you can bring them back. Come on, you can do it. Return of K. Look, go get David Wise. Return of K. Rool. Come on, you can do this shit. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
You know what gets to me is that I know Nintendo has money. We all know they have money. We all know that they can make failed consoles for the next half century and still, I mean, before they actually end up broke. But here's the thing. Me knowing Nintendo and being an old school gamer, I also know Nintendo has one thing they refuse to do. They will not buy someone else's IP. They want
Nope.
that someone else to let them either have it or work with them on it, but they would not buy it outright because they see that as what Sony and Microsoft have been doing for years. They're buying things instead of trying to work with people. They're simply saying, here, well, we don't want to do it. We want you to make it, so here's $20 million. Make the damn game, and let's just sign a contract where we split it down 60-40. Nintendo's attitude is more like, we really want your IP, but we want you to want to work with us to make a great game. Not we have to pay you, which is basically coercing you to work with us. We want you to want to work with us. And that's why I think a game like Bayonetta will stand the test of time because Platinum wanted to work with Nintendo. And plus Nintendo paid for the game to be made, but Platinum wanted to make that game and it would have been dead without them.
Yes, it would have. And that's the thing people don't understand is that, like, I hear a lot of fanboys. Well, Bayonetta was on the Xbox One and the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Why isn't it on the Xbox One and the PS4? And when I hear them whine like that, I feel a tear of happiness fall out of my eye because I like seeing there being a game that just Sony fans and Xbox fans, the fanboys, the only way they're ever gonna play it, even if they want it, is if Hell freezes over and dimensions twist into something else and reality goes against itself, because Bayonetta 2 will forever be a Nintendo exclusive because they helped make the shit. They paid the cost to be the boss.
Now that we are talking about IPs, I have this question. Isn't there a law that there's a certain time period where you can have a trademark, but once that time's up, that property goes to the public domain?
That's how it works normally, but here's how it works with corporations. Corporations follow different rules in America. I don't know how it goes in other places, but in America, here's what they do. The trademark runs out. Because when you apply for a trademark, you pay a trademark fee, and then it gets arbitrated through the trademark laws, and then it goes to a commission. The commission says, okay, no, this doesn't infringe on anyone else's shit. They rubber stamp it, and you got your trademark, and no one else can use your shit. What Microsoft does is that they either release Conker in a shitty platformer for a character created for a player created a Little Big Planet-esque style game called Project Sparks, or so that renews the trademark because they've used it, or they basically just pay and say, well, we're gonna get to it in the future, which is what Nintendo's been doing with Eternal Darkness. We haven't seen an Eternal Darkness
For an
in,
eternity.
I want to say 15 years. What was it? 15 years? Because it came out on the
I think it was 15 years.
15
uh,
years.
More or
I
less.
want to say
so
15, like 15, 14 years.
they can keep being trademarks as long as they keep paying the fee.
What?
So they can still be trademarks as long as they keep paying the fee.
Yeah, as long as they keep on re-registering the trademark and it's a
Okay.
valid re-registration, then
Uh,
because let's not forget they did release Banjo Nuts and Bolts. They are putting the Battletoads in Shovel Knight, and that renews that renews it because they used it. That renews it all because most trademark
So
things
basically,
are
the
for
same
7
shit they're doing
years.
with the Spider-Man movies. They make
Yeah,
a
the
movie
same
to make sure
shit.
they keep the damn property.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's the
just as
it's the reason that Fox keeps on ruining X-Men, but no
uh,
one will take it away from them. Those mother.
just that I had this doubt due to the character Popeye got public domain
Yeah.
on some countries, and I said, so I'm confused. Like, okay,
Well, trademark law is different in each country. Normally for me, I go by if it's okay in America because that's where I live. You got to use look at the local and federal laws and where you live. Like if it's open domain where you live, you might be able to use it where you live. But if you try and put it someplace else for profit, they might have something to say to you about it. So
yeah. I just imagine if Mario or any Nintendo character falls into public domain in a country, I think they will exploit it like crazy.
well, I made a Mario art. Well, I didn't actually do it, but if I did, I would call it the Super Aleppi Brothers, starring Giuseppe and Guido, and they fight against an evil monkey, not an ape, a monkey named King King Brox, the evil king, and they're out to rescue a princess named Rose.
But it will be for a video game.
It's a video game, yeah. And they
Uh,
run and jump, and they use wrenches, because they're handymen. They're actually subcontractors.
Actually, a few years ago, in some state here in Mexico, a candidate for governor or something like that used a bootleg version of Mario for his campaign.
I could see it happening.
Yeah.
So our next question, in regards to your question, I don't know if anyone's played that arcade machine. I don't play it that often because it's really awesome, but to tell you the truth, I was never that good at F-Zero. I like it, but I've never was really that good at it. So
Ah,
yeah,
Train,
it's my
my brother, train.
it's look. Here's the thing. My favorite racing game on the N64 wasn't F-Zero GX or Mario Kart 64. It was Diddy Kong Racing. Okay, I like I like arcadey racing. Like F-Zero is a purist racing game. There are no weapons. You have to learn the track. It's all about precision and timing. I'm not that good. Like I know I'm not that good. That's why look, I play Mario Kart 8. I get my ass kicked. I'm just not that good. So the next question from Anderson Archilla is: in light of the tragic news of the God of War 3 PS4 announcement, there's a flash sale with some games from Sony's better times. So should I get Katamari Damacy, Wild Arms 1 and 2, Pac-Man CE, Breath of Fire 4, Clonua, Door to Phantomile, and Mega Man X 4 through 5?
Don't
I
support
would
any
get
of that bullshit.
I would get all of it actually. Katamari Damacy is the closest if you don't like to do drugs, it's the closest you can get to doing drugs without actually having to do drugs. Wild Arms,
Man, come on now.
it's close. I mean, it's like you did a line of coke. Wild Arms 1 and 2. I like Wild Arms. It's a really fun RPG. But uh, the second one's better than the first one. So I get 2. Pac-Man CE. It's Pac-Man. The best version of that game is on the GameCube actually, or the Wii, or sorry, the Wii U. Breath of Fire 4. Well, that's the one where you basically you can play as the ghosts, and people can you can coordinate to chase Pac-Man, so everyone's trying to get you, and it's actually really fun. Breath of Fire 4. Here's a confession for you. I don't like Breath of Fire 4 that much. I played it, I beat it. It's not my favorite. My favorite Breath of Fire is 3. Well, actually, I like the first 3, but my favorite of the first 3 is well, my favorite of the first 3 on the PS1 is 3. My favorite of all is actually the first one. I like the first one the best. Clonua Door to Phantomile. It's a good game. Clonua is a pretty good game. And Mega Man X4, it's Mega Man. Come on, man. Got to get it. It's Mega Man. Anyone have anything to add?
For me, I got 2. Klonoa and Mega Man X.
Okay.
No question.
Mega Man games X, 4, 5, and there's a 6. Yeah.
Man, it went up to 8, I believe.
They said X4 through X8, but I definitely recommend that Mega Man's, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I liked
That's
more
not the one where it's in
Mega Man. I liked more Mega Man X4 than X5 because seems like X5 had a smaller budget. Feels more cheap than Mega Man X4. I don't know why. Maybe because it has the cutscenes between the and the I don't know. Mega Man X5, like I said, feels more cheap. But since I'm a Mega Man X5 fan, I liked it, but I prefer Mega Man X4, even with its glorious bad voice acting.
You can turn off the voice acting, I think, from reasonably certain. They give you that option. Okay, the last question from Anderson Archillo before we have to wrap this up. Okay, could the original Star Fox for SNES be released on the VC in celebration of the new one? I know it's a long shot, but hey, they did put Earthbound and the Donkey Kong Country trilogy on there after settling some licensing issues. Anderson Archillo.
Come on, this is Nintendo. Of course they're going to do that, man. Why wouldn't they? In the same way we got Mario Kart on Smash Brothers, the original, and we got Mario Kart on the Virtual Console, it's going to happen regardless. Just like when they released Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, they also gave away like 4 swords free.
Yep.
Yes.
And the only thing I have to say is this: bring it, because let me put it this way: everyone likes Star Fox 64, and God bless you if you like Star Fox 64. I actually like Star Fox for the SNES better because to me it had better music. It had more of a Star Wars feel to it. Really, it did. And even though like it looks like Legos that were melted together. Graphically, at the time, those graphics were awesome, and it has the coolest commercial ever. The commercial for Star Fox for the SNES is the best one ever. Yeah, there's this astronaut, and he's in a space shuttle, and,
hold on. Are you talking about commercials for Star Fox games or commercials? Period.
It's the coolest Star Fox commercial.
Okay.
Because the dude is literally in the cockpit. And he's like going into a warp thing, and you can see the dude transforming into a fox. Like you're looking at his face, and his face turns into a fox.
Oh my God!
I'm like, God damn! This is when Nintendo did awesome commercials.
Okay, you just hit a nostalgia with me right there. It's been so long since I've seen that.
It's not as good as the Smash Brothers for N64 commercial though. So why can't we be friends?
That is the greatest. That is the greatest gaming commercial of
Yeah.
all time
They just
to
they
me.
just beat the shit out of each other.
No, but see, it's me and you and me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is it? I'm like, what
Yeah.
is happening here? And
Yeah,
then that
yeah,
commercial, that is the only time a commercial has just made me go out and buy a game. that was that.
yes.
I mean, he hits. I mean, literally, like Donkey Kong punches Mario in the stomach, and like
No,
Yoshi
Donkey
hits
Kong just
like
knocked the hell out with the Yoshi's hammer.
yeah, yeah, and then like some guy gets punched in the stomach. Another dude hits a dude with
Donkey
a
Kong,
chair. I'm like,
Donkey
God
Kong.
damn. Yeah, I'm like,
Pikachu's been
God
swirling
And then they just said
around.
they superimposed it and Mario needed Donkey Kong's face.
damn. Yeah, I'm like, Jesus, this is. I love this. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the original Star Fox. I think it had the best music of the series, in my opinion. Every others, and the thing about Star Fox is that people don't understand is that it's a space opera, and for someone like me who's like a major Trekkie, and I also like Star Wars, like I love space operas. And plus, it has my favorite version of Andros. Yeah. Star Fox 64 Andros was okay, but you can't beat the mask with shooting like blocks at you that you gotta shoot, and he swallows the blocks and throws them out at you and tries to swallow you, and you gotta shoot a bomb in his mouth to make him stop sucking you in.
Speaking about Andros from Star Fox SNES, a couple of years ago there was this viral video that was called in English. Well, it's in Spanish, but the title in English will be "Obey the Walrus," and it was clips of a patient with what mm, polio or something like that with the face of Andros. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I don't know about that, but I'll tell you
Yeah,
this
no, I
much.
know it's, because they used it because it looks really creepy. Like,
I don't know about that, but I'll say this much. Star Fox for the SNES had at the time top notch. Those graphics basically forced Sega to shit. They shit themselves, and after they cleaned themselves up, they came out with their version of a 3D game. And the game, literally, I have that game for my Genesis. It looks playing that game. It moves at like 5 frames per second, and it makes you want to puke. It gives you motion sickness watching it. It's like, oh, it's a racing game. It's terrible. But I digress. That's our last question. Um, that's the end of it. Anyone want to bring up something they're doing? Oh snap! Triple M left the group.
uh,
So anyone want to give up their want to talk about what they're doing before we wrap things up?
I have nothing coming up that I can think of. At least not immediately. Well, now there's one thing. I am working on like kind of like a open letter, series. It won't be an ongoing segment, but just to each and every like console manufacturer. It's more like an honest letter, but it'll be in like video format and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not saying it's gonna be done next week, but be on the lookout for it.
okay, I still have nothing to show, but I'm developing a game, and I got to say that developing a game it's really, really hard. And so, but I expect to give more news in about 3 months. So keep looking forward to that.
And forget that, I will continue to complain about badly developed games, even though I know nothing about developing games, because that's what I do. I'm a gamer. Uh, I'm being facetious, of course. I did work on a few RPG Maker titles, but that doesn't make me a developer, I don't think. But not in the
You're
strictest sense of the
making
word.
games again?
No, I've in the past I did.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have the time for it now. Between trying to go back to school and running a business, and
Yeah,
having a girlfriend, and I'm trying to get a dog this summer. I don't have time to be making games.
no,
Uh,
of course not. No.
so I guess what I'm doing, Well, this I'm still working on those movie reviews. I know I said I'd get them out soon, but life has been kicking me in the ass. I'm doing Resurrection, another episode of Resurrection this Sunday at 3. Um, we'll be resurrecting the always useful and always fun GTA, except it hasn't been fun for the last 2 games, so at least not to me. So I thought, how could we bring this game back to being fun? So stay tuned for that. It's this Sunday at 3. I'll be joined hopefully by Double M06, Triple M, Mario TGP, and some other folk. Maybe even Mr. T might join us. Maybe, perhaps.
Triple M is back with the vengeance.
and Triple M will give his his sign off what he's been doing and what projects he's working on, and then we'll wrap this up because I got to go get some dinner.
Well, I'm not going to mention what I've been doing, but I will give a shout out to GVGINU, aka the letters, for making that for making for making that clip about Nintendo's strong female character. Oh my gosh, I did not expect that him went flip on that thing. But go check that out. And also, Shadow Fox Infinite for the title video, headline ignorance, which we have discussed about on the last podcast, but he summed it up perfectly of what's been happening with Nintendo and the freaking media. But anyway, this is Triple M, the lone wolf and fondness for games that pops out of my artworks. And I have to say, even though this particular topic saddens me, but still had fun with it.
Okay, so goodbye, y'all. Be safe. Have a fun weekend. Enjoy. Play your games. Not because your friends enjoy it, but because you enjoy it. And good night.
And buy Ike Amiibos.